nightfall. Me, I'm not wasting time, cause everyone dies, gets put in the ground. I'll take just what I got, rise to the top, my glory found. I'm the greatest, come on, say it. You're gonna know my name so famous. Cause I'm the greatest, you're gonna hate it. You're gonna know my name, come on, say it. I'm the greatest, I'm the tick-tock goes the clock on every life. No rest, no pain, I'm in overdrive. Get your beauty sleep, kick up your feet, yeah, waste it all. Me, I'm not stopping, I'm not dropping, yeah, they're gonna call me the greatest, come on, say it. You're gonna know my name so famous. Cause I'm the greatest, you're gonna hate it. You're gonna know my name, come on, say it. I'm the greatest, I'm the greatest. I'm the greatest, I'm the Can you feel it rising up? Can you feel it rising up? Yeah, tell me, have you had enough? Yeah. Can you feel it rising up? Yeah. Tell me, have you had enough? Oh, 'cause I'm the greatest. Come on, say it. You're gonna know my name so famous. 'Cause I'm the greatest. You're gonna hate it. You're gonna know my name. Come on, say it. I'm the greatest. Come on, say it. You're gonna know my name so famous. 'Cause I'm the greatest. You're gonna hate it. You're gonna know my name. Come on, say it. I'm the greatest. I'm the greatest.
Qualifiers for Europe. My name is Imperium, and I'm joined by Neptura, where we are into the finals, where the top 16s have made it through, and now they battle it out for spots in the EMEA PMSL. Neptura, my voice is dying, but I'm going to keep going. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Imperium. I've had such a good day. We're getting into the finals coming in here. I'm so excited. Oh, it's going to be a really, really good one.
It's definitely exciting. Couldn't have said it better myself. There's lots to go through. There's lots to break down. There's stuff that we can talk about. There's teams we're going to be looking out for specifically. There's teams that we're going to arguably go a little bit tougher on. At the end of the day, what we saw last weekend was just one half of what these teams need to do. Now the real fight begins.
It does indeed. Wow. It really does, doesn't it? When you think about how that format is going to come up, it's going to be an interesting one. But you know what will make it even more interesting, Imperium? It would be actually heading out and getting those socials down, following those social media pages. You've got PUBG Mobile Europe on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok. Join the conversation. If you're not, what are you guys doing? That's where all the cool kids hang out after the show. So just go do that.
Which is why you don't see me there, because I'm not one of the cool kids.
No.
I'm old. I'm a boomer, right? Simple as that. Let's have a look at the format, right? Because we've alluded to it. This is really, really important, right? 16 teams, 18 games over 3 days, in which the top 2 teams advance to the PUBG Mobile Super League.
Oh, top 2 makes me so nervous for everybody, right? Because we all know, we all saw last week, we've got far more than just 2 teams deserving of a qualification to PMSL. There's so many rosters who are just biting their nails right now, and I would not want to be a part of that because, oh my goodness, just 2?
It's simply dog-eat-dog world out there for the finals. That's a 1 in 8 chance of making it through, which is incredibly difficult. Let's have a look real quickly at the points. It hasn't changed, but if you're new to PUBG Mobile Esports, this is your first time checking out. This is the point system for how these teams gather the points required to qualify.
Yeah, if you are coming in here just checking us out, hello, welcome. We hope you enjoy the evening, because we sure will. I mean, if anything by last week's supposed to go by, we're going to have such a great time. The points are just going to be racking up during the next 18 games coming in here. I think so many of these teams will be trying to get probably a continuation of what we saw last week, right? It's going to be a lot of those elimination points coming in here earlier in those stages. Probably still a lot of hot drops, not gonna lie, Imperium, but at the same time we're gonna get those hefty placement points. It's so tough when only the top 8 actually get anything in terms of placement points, so it makes those eliminations, it makes those fights a whole lot more important.
A new opportunity, a new set of games, and a new schedule of maps being played. It's a little bit sad for me, because I really love the whole Erangel, Miramar.
Yeah.
However, it's a little bit interesting, in which we will bring up later. That's an even keel of 2 Miramar, 2 Sanhok, 2 Erangel.
It is, and I love, you know what I love about this? I love that there's 2 Sanhoks. It's one of my very favorite maps to watch competitively, and the fact that there's 2 of them so evenly spread out, it's gonna make the day go really smoothly, really nicely. I can't wait for Sanhok. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we are going to bring up some stats from last week's qualifying games, and there's always going to be context of the fact that involved a total of 24 teams, in which 8 didn't make it through, which in theory adds a value of lesser quality, which in theory allows teams to kind of farm up points. And this is where we're going to be looking at kind of what we've dubbed the finals favorites: Team Spirit, SPG, and Rush Team.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with this. I mean, for us SPG, right, for obvious reasons. Team Spirit for also obvious reasons. They started out really shaky in the first couple of games, first couple of rounds, really. But they really warmed up nicely, and they got to that point where they knew they had the last few games, and they did it really, really well. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what those two have in store.
For SPG, that we alluded to it, and again, it's going to speak for itself. SPG were the blueprint of the lobby in terms of the qualifiers. They were the highest performing team in 2 maps out of the 3, and they were the second highest performance team in another map. For Team Spirit, what's interesting about them is that they were the second highest point scoring team on their second day set of games. So they really ramped things up massively. So expect that same standard leading into the finals. You look at Rush Team and you go, well, why them over like the likes of Shoot to Kill and S2 Team who finished second in the qualifying stage? For me, it's because they were in the top 3 of 2 out of the 3 maps in the qualifiers, both Erangel and Sanhok. Now, Miramar is
That's
a
crazy.
big weak point for them. However, if they can carry that momentum or that consistency, I could see Rush Team, especially in late game, rack up a lot of points.
Absolutely. I loved their performance in the qualifiers. It was fantastic work.
Yeah.
However, you know, the one negative, almost negative I have to kind of think about is what we talked about last week as
Okay.
well, is are they showing their hand too much at this point, you know?
Yeah.
Are they doing a little too much, a little too quickly? These teams will absolutely VOD review the heck out of Rush
Yes.
after those 3 wins in one day. So it is really a question of, can they actually get it done, or are they going to falter now because they've shown too much of their hand?
That is a very fair point. At the end of the day, all of these games start at 0. They've been practicing. You alluded to.
That's
They've
true.
been VOD reviewing. They even played scrims last night, and although scrims can only tell a certain part, it does allow teams to test themselves, more importantly, test different rotations. I don't think we're going to see as many hot drops as you might have thought of compared to qualifiers. I feel like everybody will respect specific drop spots, maybe a bit of a change. But again, it's an open door for all these teams to show us what they've got.
Absolutely super excited as we head on into our first game of the PMSL EU Qualifier Finals. That is a huge mouthful to say, but it's at least this map is big enough for me to get it all out in time to see these teams start to drop in. That plane zone looking a little cheeky, not gonna lie. It doesn't give you much of an area over towards El Pozo and the like, but that's what cars are for. So we will be seeing how these teams get on. We already see Lithuania. They're already off the
Have you
map,
noticed?
onto
Have
the
you
map.
noticed something?
What have I noticed? What?
Have you noticed something?
No.
One player that we talked about privately that was in Lithuania,
yes.
but we didn't see him during
Yes.
qualifier. And we
He's
didn't
back.
really mention it because obviously that could have changed. However, he's rocking up for the finals. How will that change the
is.
team performance? It's Rokas, a very experienced PMGC player for Lithuania.
You know what's really funny is because I knew he was in this, I didn't even notice that he was I knew he was part of the team, so when he rocked up, I was
Okay.
like, oh yeah, it's Rolkas. I forgot. No, but it's absolutely going to hopefully help Lithuania have a little bit more control when you have such an experienced IGL who's really got a good brain to him. He knows what he's doing. You're gonna be wanting to watch out for him a little bit more. The team should be a little bit more confident, perhaps. Now they have a different or their main IGL. I mean, their last IGL was perfectly fine. I mean, he got them here, so that's cool. But when you're talking about, you know, as you said, a PMGC IGL, that's got to do something to your morale as well. So super excited to see how he helps the team perform, but at the moment he's not getting that that opportunity because he's getting a little bit threatened by MABETEX here over in El Azahar. That's the right one. Down to 3. They
S2
lost
are
silence,
in-
unfortunately.
They did. Early on, Kenzo as well went down for MABETEX. Maybe that's why Lithuania didn't really push as heavily on this engagement. They did technically have a body advantage because the second player from MABETEX was down. But again, Lithuania kind of holding their horses a little bit. And to be fair, we're seeing a hot drop in which I didn't really expect it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's not. It's an interesting one for sure, especially on Miramar when there's plenty of places to go around. I mean, we saw that map feed. There's still space left for teams to go, so it is interesting that we do have that hot drop so early on in that first map. But to be honest, if you are going to hot drop, the first match of the event is where you have to do it, right? That's where you have the most opportunity to get those points back if it goes wrong. So while it's surprising, I don't actually hate this from either side. We'll have to see, though, who's going to win it out. Interesting that, as you said, Lithuania have taken a bit of a backstep with this one. Probably just not a whole lot of loot, not a whole lot of meds at all. We saw Rokas go down really low there. But it is still Lithuania with all the cards in their hand because they are gatekeeping now. They're in that position in between MABETEX and the zone. So we'll have to see how this one is going to go down. At the moment, Lithuania just holding position. That's not the worst thing to do. But you know what? So is MABETEX. This could just end up being one of those really awful standoffs where too often seeing, right? Where it's just like we just stare at each other for a couple minutes and then go on our merry way, and it's like, okay, nice to see you.
Plus, realistically, the longer this stays without a resolution for either team, the worse it is for both teams, right? You have S2 and Crucify up north. You could even have Shockwave as well coming in from Hacienda if they want to. Even the Mind Weapon coming in from Junkyard, they could third party this. At the end of the day, like I said, the longer both these teams leave it, the harder it's going to be come phase 2, phase 3.
Absolutely, and I think you're quite right. The Mind Weapon are currently barreling down in their vehicles towards their location, so they're going to have to be very careful of that. We see SPG in San Martin. Now, this is going to be a hot drop that is not contested, a location that's not contested at all. SPG going to be left well enough alone. In fact, there's no one near them. They have Shockwave in Hacienda, but that is about it. As we see now, Vama, oh my goodness me, up on that top of the hillside. He's sneaking up in there. He's gonna see who he can spot. It might actually be Rolkus. He's just standing up there. No, oh no, he's not. He's right behind. Oh, cheeky. That was a tricky little thing for us, but that's okay. He's not going to find him. Rolkus is safe for now, but he's just letting his teammates know what is the situation. He should be able to see MABETEX at some point fairly early on here, but we will have to put a damper on that. Wait a second. STK make their first appearance. Here we go. Up against Team KASIK. It's one of those loot drop situations where there's just that solo left, and he is going to make a break for it right away. Maybe his teammate's going to try and catch him up, try and pick him up, something like that, but English not having any of it. Down go the nades. He might just be left on his own here, gets the heal up, but it's not going to be enough. Oh, yes, it is. Dishcrim goes on it down. Really nice stuff with that S12K. It is in hand. He gets that elimination. STK going to have to be very careful with how they play this one next, because now you know he's got that backup from the rest of his team.
Great initial coordination and teamwork from shoot to kill, right? Pushing as a full squad. This is a center circle compound. But again, like the qualifiers, this is a finals. You got to respect the fact that your opponents are more likely going to be prepared, right? Even if there's one player or two players, you're kind of going in a bit blind on that compound. But you gotta expect that the opposing team have a level of backup in an off angle. So that was a poor overall bit of play from shoot to kill, in which they're now being put under pressure by KASIK. If they opt to move away, again they have backup support.
Yeah, agreed, 100%. That was the ball was fumbled ever so slightly by STK there, and they lose Discrim for it. I mean, Discrim not a player you really want to be losing in this situation. And now it looks like KASIK actually moving back a little bit for more as we see now SHOCKWAVE. Oh, this is interesting, Imperium.
Yeah, the mind weapon. This is a great heal to have locked down outside of Lazahar, but why are you so separated, the mind weapon? Just not needed.
Yeah.
Shockwave, I did kind of predict that Shockwave could come in this direction in which they have. Shockwave, Miramar is their strongest map by far, with an average of 9.75 points per Miramar map in the qualifiers compared to 4.5 in Erangel. So they need to make this map count across these finals, across these 3 days.
Ooh, what a great dip to get a revive in. Nobody can get you from there. That's a nice position. I'm kind of surprised, though, sort of as you said, like, why is everybody up in the northern side? Everybody knows the zone is not really going to go up there. I mean, apart from maybe getting a few of those extra points, which for Shockwave seems to be doing more harm than good at this point, I'm really confused as to why teams all decide to go to that location specifically. I mean, it's kind of weird. I find it just kind of weird personally, but the mine weapon are going to be down to just the 3, but at least 2 are in zones. They did have a kind of nice split there coming in, but it is going to be NEXUS next on our screen. They've got Impala fairly locked down by the look of that map feed.
No doubt about it. And with the circle shifting up north, it's important that NEXUS hold on to it. Now, honestly, NEXUS genuinely disappointed me in the qualifiers, and I don't say that in a happy way. I love NEXUS, but they really disappointed me. I think they were too slow on rotations, too slow to engage, not aggressive enough, and discoordinated as a team. Solo plays were good, but we even saw them memed in a fight engagement in which they went down to the blue. That is the definition of how slow they were in a lot of team fights. They need to quicken things up, be more concise, be more aggressive if they're in any way going to make it towards the top 2 in the finals.
No, I agree 100%. It's harsh words, but you know what? They got to be said. Something's got to change with NEXUS because these other teams are not going to wait for them to figure it out. That is for sure. So we'll have to see, but hopefully, fingers crossed, they've gotten their act together in the last week. Fingers crossed, they are looking a little better. So far, so good. They've been fairly quick to set up shop and get where they need to be. They do have Rush, a team we did talk about quite highly earlier on. They are right next door, so we might see that kick off at some point, but for now it is going to be Team KASIK and S2. S2, such a good team, an interesting team we've seen so far. They've had their ups and downs, but you know what, to end up on the leaderboard last week in 2nd place, I mean, it's a really good show of skill from them. I have to say, though, I'm not entirely sure about this split. That seems awfully far, but maybe it's worked. Maybe it'll work.
I think it's a valuable split. They have high ground. They have protection behind them, in my opinion, against the likes of NEXUS. There's definitely an element of gap between the two sets of players, but again, 2-2 split in phase 2, I think is okay. The risk is the fact that it's very center of the circle. So come the next shift, that's where they're going to need to make a decision and kind of know where they want to go. And this phase 3, pretty spot on, somewhat dead center, a little bit to the east, but valuable.
Yeah, as long as they can hold it. I mean, teams like SBG, you just see them rolling in there, and we know what they do when they roll in. They kind of run everybody else over. So we might see something happen there, but this is going to be the great exodus, right? The migration of teams moving into the center of the circle. They're going to have S2, and KASIK as well. They're going to have a lot of angles to fight on every single side, so it's going to be a tricky one. Center zone is always nerve-wracking. It's always, that kind of thing of, oh god, we better, really be on our best behavior for this one.
especially in this kind of circle where it's very flat terrain. There's a little bit of a dip here or there, but it's not really the kind of hard dip, the hard cover that is beneficial for the center of the circle. So a lot of edge play is probably going to be more valuable in phase 3. A team I want to highlight, more specifically because the amount of support they have in the chat across the scrims that I checked out yesterday and even in the YouTube stream for the finals of day 1. Dagestan 77, man, the fans are behind them, and if they can carry that power, carry that representation, that could be a difference maker, because it really can make a difference.
Oh, it absolutely can. It really, really can. I've seen so many times, you know, some of the players in between games, you know, for different events, be actually in that chat. So it's super important to show your support, because you don't know when they're watching and what kind of morale that will have. But Team Leo going down 1 by 1 here to 4RB.
4RB, once again, Miramar was their strongest map with an average of 8 points per game in the qualifiers. Nothing absolutely massive, but again, their strongest map. A lovely nade goes out to take down Purple. A little bit of a third party by the hands of the Nameless, but they're going to get knocked down by one of the Leo players. So a little bit of a three-way dance on the southern edge of the circle.
It is indeed, but they gotta hurry this one up, because it looks like TNL wanting a little piece of the pie, and the zone is going to continue to pressure them, but nicely done from Sarah. Leo Esports, it was a valiant effort. They did get quite a few of the 4RB boys down, but it isn't going to be enough. They just have to take 2 eliminations and be satisfied, but TNL say no. 4RB have to be satisfied with the lobby, or maybe just a solo, whichever one they can get. So nicely done. Nice third party from TNL. That's just going to leave Royal up alive as he tries to find a spot inside this new zone.
Lithuania rotated on the eastern coastline of this previous circle. They're now down on the southeast edge, very close to Team Spirit to have a high ground. But this is a massive shift over to the west, which is definitely a bit of a pain in the backside. For the likes of Spirit and Lithuania. Had to find a PG way of saying that.
Oh dear. Oh, interesting rotation coming in from 1337. I mean, Lithuania, gosh darn it. Lithuania coming in here. They've had a really long rotation all the way down to that south side over by Impala coastline. So far seems to be okay for them. Rolkis did get knocked just then, but they're going to get that res back up. Spirit, on the other hand, just waiting in the wings. Nice efficiency coming in from them with those cars, with those vehicles. I like that. It looks forward momentum. It looks like they're really thinking ahead of themselves, so that's really nice. But the zone has once again centered up over S2, over that cliff, and Team KASIK as well. So a lot of teams going to be feeling the pressure right now. You've got ALPI moving in against SHOCKWAVE to the north. You've also got SBG in a massive 2-2 split on that western side as well. But things will start to kick off on the north side first. Who is going to take them down?
This is what worries me about S2, though, Neptor. They're still on that 2-2 split. This is the point in the game in which I would commit to one part of the area, one part. Even a 3-1 split, in my opinion, would be more valuable than a 2-2 split with the Nameless under a ton of pressure. By Dagestan 77, they have a background player overlooking outside the circle. Magnum tries to hold off the Nameless 3 into one building.
Oof, it's going to be a tough one for Magnum. His teammates have to move in, and eventually they do, but not quite enough on time. Spirit Kitsune is going down in the meantime as Dagestan continue this fight. Dakimi, just about getting that nade or that health off and running. Nicely done. Now his teammates finally in a position to back him up, but it won't be enough. A beautiful nade coming in, but a reciprocating molly does the job as well. So they're down to 1 and 1 down each. But here come the rest of those Molotovs, the rest of those nades. It's going to be a forward push from Dagestan. Will TNL be able to handle it? That is the question.
You got to push as a team. Obli, Do not go in on your own. Outside the building, that Kami goes. Surely a shot's going to come on through. No, the Kami tries to make it through the doorway. Gets knocked down. A trade with the nade. Does not connect. Where's the push? Simultaneously by Dagestan, they have a player knocked down, but worry not about that player knocked down. Focus on finishing this team fight. Do not let the trade not go through. That's exactly what's happened. Obli, because he fails to move, gets taken out by a molly.
That is unfortunate. It's just a little bit disconnected there. I mean, the gun skill is there to back up, to try and cover the mistakes that are being made in the positioning. But I don't know, at what point is that not going to be enough? I don't know. It's just down to 2 for TNL, 3 still up for Dagestan. They might just scrape their way through it. But either which way you look at it, whoever wins this out, this has been a really messy fight.
Yeah, and Dagestan went for the revive when they should have gone for the 2v1 push. And now both these teams are slowed down. Lithuania are taken out on the edge of Impala by the side of Rush Team, as far as I know. S2 in the elimination feed as well, looking to knock down a couple of players coming in from the eastern edge of the circle. And again, this fight still goes on. Time's ticking, time's wasted. This is a Nexus kind of team fight, and the Nameless finally go down. But again, Dagestan could have ended that fight, in my opinion, 40 seconds ago.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, honestly, almost as soon as the rest of the team came up and centered up around their teammate, I think TNL should have been really worried. I think that push should have come in from Dagestan, and it just didn't. Yeah. So it went on for far too long. TNL ending up with, I think, at least one of their players right there. And now SBG, classic SBG, gonna clean up the mess. Down goes Magnum there, Victor in that elimination feed doing the business. Meanwhile, Nexus, on the other hand, trying to vie for this cliff side. They have done what you suggested, though. S2 have moved elsewhere. They've gone down to the compound, which is an interesting move. I mean, I understand why they didn't go for the cliff, but I also I'm sad that they didn't actually go for it.
I think they're sticking to their familiar, comfortable play, right? It's part of why they scored so many points across the qualifier stage. They played for the late game. They played comfortably, and they weren't heavily punished for that. They benefited more often than not. Nexus are up to 5 eliminations. They've been quiet from our point of view, but clearly they're doing something right and controlling from the eastern side. I think they definitely benefited from the likes of Lithuania and Team Spirit, who kind of opted to try and go for an eastern edge circle play as Dagestan are eliminated.
I want to say that actually Rush are in a really dominant position, I have to say. ALPI not so much, but Rush, they are on the south side. They've staved off SBG's push, and they're also vying with Nexus for that spot. So they are looking fairly strong. They're looking pretty much good to go so far. Rush with 2 eliminations, but it is going to be Nexus Gaming with that cliff, with that high ground, and the mini to back it up. This was a great play from them, but as the zone closes in, we have to acknowledge that it is on the very edge. I mean, look at all that space. SBG are doing the exact right thing, right? They're lined up on that side of the zone, just waiting for that circle to center up again.
I love Kapahala rotating around to try and find a bit of north angle position and put pressure onto the members of Rush Team. Arguably maybe a little bit late into the circle, but again, in terms of checking out, waiting for the next circle to pop up, it creates a bit of metaphorical bubble and a bit of space for you to move in. It centers up. Fantastic for SBG. They're the only team on the western side. And again, because the area of the map is quite flat, you're going to have teams opting not to go for a compound push onto the likes of S2 KASIK. Try and hold on to the edge of circle play. And that's going to potentially favour SBG and allow them to rack up elimination after elimination.
Rush continue to have actually a really good spot. I know they have to move, but we only saw it from the map feed. We haven't focused too much on them in actual in person as such. And they've actually got a really nice little shack on a little bit of a ridge there. So it is a well chosen position. It's a shame that it's going out though, as the zone is now. It's now coming in again. Only 2.5 minutes. That's a long time in PUBG minutes, but it isn't that long after all. Just down to 2 now for Rush in a smoking vehicle. Nexus have to be all over this if they want to survive, because Rush aren't backing down, and that's what I love about this team, right? Look at them. They are a duo. They should be being very quiet right now, but they aren't. But it's not going to be enough. Kapahala in with those nades, going to try and take one down. Mori does go out there. Rush just down to Strict. After all their barking, it's only 2 eliminations on their side. Not as many as they had hoped for, but maybe, just maybe, he'll be able to get a quick fire over onto one of the Nexus boys. Maybe he'll be able to get a couple more eliminations.
And at the end of the day, Nexus need to clear out their backs, clear out their sides before they can push into KASIK. Otherwise, that dog will bite. The bark will be followed by a bite, and Nexus will quickly find themselves punished by the side of Rush team. Shockwave holding onto this northeastern edge position. S2 deep inside the compound. Shockwave pushing on forward. Up to 4 eliminations. Can they follow suit? And I believe they still have... No, they're down to 3 players.
Nexus, though, continuing to do some really good stuff. I mean, we're seeing 9 eliminations on the board as a full squad as well. I mean, yes, they've had the more sheltered side of zone, right? But still, it's been a really good result for them so far. Rush team do go on out there. 2 eliminations, that's what the number they're sticking to. But it is Shockwave. We do go over to this compound, and this is where SBG can just wait, right? They can just wait for these teams to finish up what they are trying to do here, because most of the lobby is in this compound. Most of the lobby has to get each other out before moving forward. So SBG in a prime position here as I cast a Curse Nexus Gaming live on television. Well done me.
6 out of the remaining 7 teams. Sorry, 5 out of the remaining 7 teams are all in around this compound area on the eastern coastline.
Wow.
The only other teams that are outside of it is MABETEX with 2 players, and SBG with the full squad. Shockwave now pushing on into the warehouse. S2 under a lot of pressure. Azer is knocked down. Razor, we saw him be the playmaker for the side of Shockwave. Chucks up a nade. Will take down the final player of S2. And it will allow Shockwave to stay up as a 3-man team. But ALPI, the final player, push on up. You have Kitsune, the final player, Team Spirit, moving on in. And yes, you're right, we lost Nexus, but it was a hell of a game for them with 11. Sorry, I believe 9 eliminations and a total of 11 points in this first game.
Yeah, really, so much better than we saw in qualifiers. Really nice job. Makes me excited for that next game coming up. If they're going to start out like this is a really good sign from them. Yeah. I do wonder, though, Imperium on the side of Team KASIK, what they're doing. We had that big fight going down. I really would have liked to see them be really pushy about it. Come into Shockwave as soon as they were done. They do get those, they do get that knock. Nicely done, but they're, again, just too far away to do anything about it. Fearless, on the other hand, is not. He is within nading distance. That could be huge. Isn't quite gonna do it, though. That is a shame for him. Yeah, it's just going the wrong direction there, Kitsune. Unfortunately. But Kitsune knows.
Kitsune. I think Fearless might have a bit of an idea here. The footsteps move along the side of the warehouse. DBS will not work. The UMP power Kitsune pushes on in, finds an elimination, and keeps Team Spirit up into the top 4. This is an SBG chicken dinner. Let's be fair. They have a good
has to be
75% chance of winning this game, in my opinion. They've taken out MABETEX. The 3 remaining other teams are all on this eastern coastline once again. Shockwave moving on forward, first person perspective, pushing in 2-on-1 play. Kitsune tries to find it. Basil Blues on fire through. He gets one. He's got a swap. Kitsune! 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 Team Spirit take down Shockwave.
He he's my favorite for a reason. This dude does not back down, never give up, never back down. Oh my god, Kitsune coming in there with that double, but no, Robs ruins everything there, takes him down. But honestly, I do not care. That is just the play of the night already. Huge GG's going there, but we are down to just our 2 Imperium. Team KASIK still around to show SBG who's boss.
Both these teams on 6 eliminations. KASIK done a decent job to survive amongst the cluster of the teams. They've played calculated. They haven't really gotten too involved. You brought up a good point that maybe they could have got more eliminations, but it could have been at the threat of losing more players. Playing the long game has worked out for KASIK. They're going to, in my opinion, get the better balance of eliminations and placing points. Like I said, this chicken dinner has been handed to SBG on a silver platter. Oh. They have the body advantage. They have the circle advantage. They're going to see through the smokes. All you have to do is pick off the players that KASIK 1 by 1. But we've seen Penchik pull off a masterclass of display in games across the qualifying. Narvalo finding Kishiba will continue to keep the pressure on the SBG. Narvalo confirms another elimination point. Now the push comes through. Snowix with the nade. The finish comes through, and that is an SBG chicken dinner.
Just good. It's good. SBG coming in hot. If there were any doubts, man, if there were any doubts, I want to know, though, what have they been eating lately, right? Because even last season, when I still enjoyed them, watching them, right, they were not this team. What has happened to this team that they are now these powerhouses, like absolute, just killing the lobby left, right, and center? To have that kind of zone, I mean, yeah, okay, maybe slightly handed to them slightly, but at the same time, they had to earn it. They still had to do those eliminations. What was that, 8, 9 elimination win? I mean, it's not the worst way to start off the event.
It's just, they're like a well-oiled machine, right? Simple as that. They're just like a train chugging along the tracks without any real issue. No distractions, no delays. Yeah, this game was a tiny bit of an anomaly in terms of how the circle shifted and how teams opted to rotate into the mid part of the game. But again, you'd find it hard to have a better execution of that game from any other team. However, Neptune, I think the focus needs to be on team spirit and more specifically Kitsune.
Yes.
Incredible.
Yes,
like,
it does.
I might have blown my voice from that play, but goddamn was it worth it.
Oh, absolutely. Oh my goodness me, this man is insane. I mean, he can be very quiet, right? We may not see much of him, but when he decides to show himself, he pulls out one of those. And it's just so good. I love it so much. Kitsune. Oh my god.
And I don't think it was a poor push from Shockwave. The push is a two-man team, right? It's just, and there's been analysis done on it. It's always easier to push, in my opinion, to push and angle from the right-hand side, as in Kitsune, all you had to do was move to the right and shoot, than it is, it's easier to do that than move to the left and shoot, in my opinion.
Agreed.
For the majority of players. So that was a little bit of a benefit. But again, the odds of him winning a 2v1 were still quite low, especially with the amount of damage he took from both the blue and the initial shots from Shockwave. Yeah, it was just mind-blowing. One of the plays of the whole tournament.
Just good.
I'm a little bit speechless. And while I rest my voice, let's all go for a quick break, and then we'll get ready to head into game 2. Do not go anywhere, because there's more to come. welcome back to the PMSL EMEA qualifiers for Europe. The finals, day one, the first game has happened, and what a way to kick it off. An SPG chicken dinner, an insane play from Kitsune, this showing up big, gotta give them credit. What else is gonna happen? You're muted. You're muted. You're muted.
Muted. I'm muted. Every time this happens. Anyway.
By the way, you just did a blank. By the way, you just did a blank. Because that
I guess so.
Much love the blank, but that was always something that he managed. We all did it,
Always
of course,
him.
but that's something that he seemed to do. Yeah, he seemed to just mute himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what else is going to happen, Neptor?
What else can happen? That's what I was trying to say there. There we go. Oh, and now the lighting. Okay. What else can happen, honestly? That's really...
Yeah.
I mean, it's already the highlight, right? Everything's already happened. We've had a massive win. We've had lots of fights. We've had great plays. I mean, might as well just cancel everything else. I mean, if we didn't have points and qualifiers to get to, you might as well, not have the rest of the games because we've had everything.
It's of course we do need to, after the hype of the first game and what we saw, we do need to not slow things down, but obviously add into context that there's still 70 more games to go.
Yeah.
When you're looking at the fact that there's only 2 spots available for the PMSL EMEA, that points gap that you're able to create, even if you're not in the top 2, by the way. So let's say you're in 4th. That points gap you're able to create from the teams below you is incredibly valuable, because that will always take the pressure off you. You don't have to watch your back as much. And what's interesting is, even though it's the first game, is relatively close in the top 5, top 6 teams, right? 19, 12, 11, 11, 7. And then it does dip down after it. But will we see a continuation of kind of top 4, top 5 teams quite close in points?
I think that is possible, certainly for day number 1, right? Because as you said, that gap is going to be really, really important coming in as closer to day number 3. So I think it would be really valuable for teams to go all in today, just try and get as many points as possible, get that gap nice and wide, and then you just have to play a quietly consistent, right? We're not talking wins, we're not talking top 3s, we're talking placement point every time, and 3 or 4 eliminations every game. That is doable for these teams. We've seen them do that before, right? And barring 1 or 2 mishaps, that shouldn't be a tough ask if they get all those points in today. If you get those teams who want this to work, then you need to get those gaps done today. All to play for, though. As you said, we still got 17 games left to go. This is game number 2. We're going into Sanhok, where everybody knows anything can happen. So, what are we going to see? I guess we'll have to find out.
The standout team in this map from the qualifiers was Lithuania, with an average of 14 points per game, of course. The caveat to that is there's only 2 Sanhok games in qualifiers, so it's much harder to really add value to that. We do see a hot drop between Leo Esports and Spirit. Very risky from Leo. They've already lost 2. And why? What's the benefit of hot dropping, especially in boot camp?
It's hard. It's hard for sure. If you're a team that maybe didn't get that many points in the last game, if you're a team that maybe qualified middle of the road, this is not something I would really recommend, just because you haven't got that experience to back up a hot drop necessarily at this level, especially when you've got a team like Team Spirit on the other end of your sights. It seems a little odd to me for sure, but we have seen crazier things happen. Maybe they do pull a 2v4 onto Team Spirit. I find it difficult that that's actually going to be the case. But it absolutely could be. They got a 1-1 split going on right now. They need to be very careful they don't get too split up there, because Team Spirit, there you go, gonna be coming straight in. But there you go. You do see the other teammate. There we go. Just down to 2 for Team Spirit now. He's taken down 2 of them. Can he take down the other 2? He's gonna wrap around. Not gonna be too much of a problem, you'd think, for them. But on the other hand, he's being funky with those angles. He's doing a good job so far.
I think you cooking up an A, but it isn't going to work. And Nomi finishes off.
No.
Last player from EO Esports. More importantly, Spear will remain up as a full squad. Phase 1 circle, by the way, centered more heavily on towards that mainland. A little bit southeast, but again, essentially on the mainland with a tiny tip of the southwest island in play. And yeah, not a hot drop in what I refer to as poor man's boot camp between S2 and MABETEX.
Yeah. Oof, this fight just got a lot worse for both of these teams. That zone has gone the farthest away from this team as probably it has for anybody else, and the problem is that they're not going to get into zone easily. You've got teams on that south island, you got teams on the mainland. Dagestan are blocking their northern entry into zone, so actually this fight might be their best bet at actually getting into zone safely, because once they're done fighting this out, nobody's actually going to be in their way. Everybody's going to have gone in. They'll have to come in through the zone. This could actually work in their favor. The problem is that you do have, that enemy, that angle that is always going to be there. So you want to finish up the fight quickly, but you want to just hang out for a little bit.
On a side note, hot thing in the qualifiers was a hot drop between Dagestan 77 and Shockwave. Respectfully, Shockwave have opted to change their drop spot, which I totally agree with, down to Camp Charlie. That will, of course, mean that they will have to have prepared for different rotations through different parts of the map. But again, in terms of playing the long game, I respect that shift from Shockwave as the fight continues between S2 and MABETEX.
Rusher have actually a really good spot. Oh dear me, MABETEX, it's all going down now. They were holding out, but S2 has that momentum. They had that off angle, but a shotgun to the face says otherwise. Down goes another, and Heaven takes them all into the underworld. Oh my goodness me. MABETEX going on down. I think in some ways MABETEX didn't have much of a chance there. You saw S2's off angle way up onto that cliffside. That was a really good shot for them. It made sure that MABETEX could not actually move into a space that worked for them. They were kind of stuck in a corner. They were stuck into that off angle. They were pushed into that off angle from their teammate. But Takimi, just making sure, getting that confirmation that he should shoot now. He gets it, and down goes that player for ALPI. Unfortunate for them, but they are so spread out right now. You'd think they would immediately center up, they group up, but it doesn't look to be the case right now. TNL could potentially just walk all over ALPI. We'll have to see how this one goes. I think this could be just a little bit too far of a stretch for ALPI, especially on Sanhok. You don't see those huge splits until much later in the game. I think it's probably just a little too early, because other teams, they don't split like this. They don't move like that. They move together. So once you end up coming up against somebody in this kind of split, you're all of a sudden 1v3.
Yeah, I totally agree. Saw an interview that Maxman did with, I forget who the content creator is. She's a host, has worked with PUBG Mobile. I forget what her name is. It was a fantastic interview, and one of the questions asked was what changes would Maxman make to the game, and he mentioned an M4 nerf long range, and I totally agree, because I do think fundamentally it's too easy to spray with the M4 long distance. At the end of the day, it's up to the players to take advantage of that, but I think that was a great example, even though he's prone down, of just quite an easy spray knock onto a member of Team ALPI. But yeah, that was a great interview. I recommend everybody check that out.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead and do it. I didn't get around to actually seeing it today, but I did see it. It actually went up, so I'll have to go check that out. I didn't know.
Do.
I didn't. I will.
God damn it.
I will absolutely.
Are you, I can't believe it. Like, I thought you were Maximan's number one fan.
I'm terrible. I might be, but I was also making a casserole today, okay?
You were in a casserole? What did you put in the casserole?
It was a
What'd you put
broccoli
in it?
tuna melt.
Okay. Broccoli
Yeah.
and tuna melt casserole.
Yes.
That
For lunches for this weekend.
That kind of sounds a bit freaky. I know, chat.
It might be a little
what do you
bit,
think
but I'm
of tuna
sure it.
and broccoli casserole.
Yeah, chat. Be my judge right now. It's got some mushrooms in there. I threw those in.
Okay,
It's cream
nice.
sauce.
Ooh, okay, that
egg
makes
noodles.
it more appealing. Okay.
Breadcrumbs.
Ooh, egg noodles.
Melty cheese. Egg noodles. Yeah.
Wait, but isn't a casserole okay? Is egg noodles meant to be in a casserole?
That was in the recipe, but
Okay.
I wouldn't know
I'm not
otherwise.
to judge. Okay, fair enough. Look, all the power to you. All the power to you. Well done. I'm glad you're
Thank you,
making
thank you.
yourself a casserole. Feel free to send me over some.
Sure, I shall.
This game continues on. Phase 2, by the way, centered up once again towards the mainland, so a very easy start to the game. In terms of teams, don't really have to worry so much about having to cross a river, having to take into account the potential hardship towards another island. It allows teams to focus on controlling their area in this mainland.
Control is so key in a map like on a map like Sanhok. Hang on, Rush though. Oh yeah, Spirit. They're gonna be all over that. They're stuck between Dagestan and Spirit, the two teams you don't want to be stuck between, especially on a ridge, right? They might have a chance if they were down in that valley and it was Dagestan and Team Spirit on those high ground areas. They're just shooting across at each other. But no, Rush are on that ridge. They have nowhere to go at this point in time. Rush team in a really sorry state of affairs. Dagestan getting third party though. That might be Rush team's answer to their prayers. We'll have to see how that one goes, but Magnum for Dagestan does go on down. For RB were the culprits there. It does allow them to get that res back on up, so they back up to a full squad. But what do I see here? It is 4RB who also have eyes on Rush. It's across the road, sure. It's long range, of course. But it is there, and Rush continue to get surrounded bit by bit on these ridges.
Shoot to kill, KASIK, the mine weapon, all have fantastic positions around that quarry area. KASIK in a 2-1-1 split, okay for phase 2. The mine weapon in a 2-2 split, and shoot to kill in, yeah, I suppose a little bit of a 3-1 split, but again, quite close together. Incredibly valuable again inside this phase 2.
Tell you what, S2 aren't doing a whole lot of anything. They've got an edge compound on the western side, and they're just chilling.
Yeah,
no
you
one
made
has,
this sound like
has
a bad
talked
thing,
to
by
them.
the way.
I know. Sorry about that. That was not intentional.
Yeah, I know.
They're doing a whole lot of
Did
nothing.
you like, what? Yeah, I know. I know.
Please, honestly, they're just, no, God, come on, do something. No, not at all. S2, I'm all for the quiet play. You know, if it's going to
Yeah.
work for you, unfortunately the zone doesn't go their way, so they can't continue that. But I like that, you know, you reserve all your strength for that end game. It can work. We've seen it work plenty of times before. Lots of top teams do it. So I don't hate it from S2. Unfortunately, they are
Plus-
going to have to move.
Well, the big positive in my eyes from S2's position is with a lot of trees and hard cover between where they are and the likes of Shoot to Kill are, the only area they need to focus on kind of defending is to the north of them on the high ground that Team Spirit allocate. So that's a big benefit in my eyes of where S2 are and how their rotation isn't going to be as difficult as it low-key looks. Depending on how quick they make that move, of course.
Yes, of course. I mean, it does look like Team Spirit actually moving towards that north side. So, yeah, you're right. S2 might have an easy shoe-in of a push, but Dagestan coming in right behind them as well. They're making a big rotation around behind them, but not enough to make S2 particularly scared. They're actually going to bypass the team, so that's not bad. Okay, not bad at all. Dagestan are going to move up against Shockwave here, so that could be difficult for either one. Dagestan, of course, having those vehicles, they could just run them over. We've seen that happen before, haven't we, Imperium? I mean, it's not hard.
Yeah, it's not hard indeed. As Dagestan 77 walk in, should I say drive into the blind, and just a very lackadaisical push from Dagestan 77. Shockwave handed the eliminations on a silver platter. And we don't drive up a hill like that in phase 3 of Sanhok. You can get away with it in Erangel and Miramar, right? But not in Sanhok. Just unless you've done some pre-scouting, it's just very poor. What I noted, by the way, about S2 is they actually went in the opposite direction, and they went to basically where Spirit kind of were, and it's worked out. Fair play to them. Yeah. Yeah,
it has worked. Well done. Well done them. That's good. Good to see them do some good rotations here on Sanhok. Sanhok is so difficult to do rotations. We've seen how badly it could go with Dagestan right there, down to just that solo. ALPI now feeling the heat as he goes up against NEXUS. NEXUS, of course, being on the eastern side, outside of zone right now. They're waiting to come in. That's gonna be NEXUS trying to push on it. No, ALPI, come on, man. He had the perfect shot onto his teammate, and he just turned his back. I really don't like that. Yeah. That was just a poor play, I gotta say.
I kind of want to put a little bit of early day nerves onto ALPI, because I don't think their initial rotations are bad, but they very much seem to be playing for hoping for the best and hoping that other teams don't go near them. There's no fight in their ability to control their position. They're letting teams go into their area and take them out. That was a typical example, right? A stronger team would defend that more aggressively against NEXUS. So ALPI, good initial rotation, but you need to be more controlling. You need to be more aggressive.
I totally agree. A great point. They do. They're the hope for the best kind of team. They don't take it. They just hope that it falls into their lap somehow. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, really, really good point there, Imperium. I totally agree. TNL, though, trying to take matters into their own hands. Not going to quite work, though. Just down to a solo just like that. Ooh, that was, I mean, it was a better push than the last one, but it wasn't all that great. Maybe 4RB can do a little better.
Potentially missed opportunity of a third party from 4 Romanian boys, more so the timing, and credit to Lithuania. They close out that engagement very, very quickly. The buildings provide hard cover. Team ALPI go down, 11 teams left, 41 players. The blue zone starting to close in on phase 4. Both of these teams on the southeast side are in the circle. Play zone, Kappahala goes down to it. Lovely shots from Royal, has to back away as an A goes in his direction. I can see any one of these teams coming out on top. Both are strong. Again, Lithuania have shown their prowess on Sanhok, but will they get shut down?
Oh, nice push.
Smokes being laid out. Jump shot through the window. They're being aggressive, Lithuania are. They want to take control. Team ALPI take a leaf out of Lithuania's book inside this fight. It's a 2-2 split from 4 Romanian boys. They have the wall. That does provide cover, but it does give you a little bit of lack of offense. And now third party from Team Spirit on the hill below. 4 Romanian boys. They are looking in trouble as Lithuania. They lost their own part as the defense has somewhat paid off for 4 Romanian boys. It's a three-way dance and Team Spirit. They didn't necessarily show a lot of aggression in the first game, but now they're looking to take control.
Aren't they just? Nexus in the picture as well in the compound. Again, we're seeing a repeat of what happened in the last game, Imperium. We're seeing all these teams just bunched up, the zone go nowhere near them. Here we go, over to that northern side. It goes to Team KASIK. It goes to the poor
Wait,
solo of
Nexus?
Dagestan.
Look at Nexus.
Yeah, Nexus are here. Yeah, they're right here. They just moved in. They just said, hey, this is ours now. Here's some cookies. I mean, you want to come over for dinner? You know, welcome in party. I mean, move in, whatever. Doran looking to send those invitations Team Spirit's way. Oh my goodness, nicely done on Doran's side, but he's got to be careful of that player up on top. But down goes one. Nomi knows where he's at, knows all. Can he do a little bit more for RB? Now, not the center of attention. Not even Lithuania right now are the center of attention. It is all Team Spirit versus Nexus in this very messy, convoluted fight that's going down.
Why is Naomi so far away from the rest of his team? He's all along the edge of cave. It should be a position where he joins up to try and clean out this fight. Again, taking too long to finish the fight. Lithuania deserve a lot of respect for their initial push. Okay, they may go down, but again, I respect the fact that they pushed aggressively. You know, there's no reason why Team Spirit couldn't have closed out that third-party fight if Naomi had joined up sooner.
I agree, yeah. You know, you want to see aggression in any team. I'm not saying reckless, I'm saying aggression, right? That ability to push in. Oh, Nexus tried to push in, but KASIK, Spirit, everybody not having any of it. Nexus are not allowed to move forward in any which way. Lithuania get 1 placement point, 5 eliminations to go to their name. That's a decent Sanhok. That's really a good job from them, considering the 4-way fight that ended up happening over there. So nicely done on their end. This might end up being an SPG low point game. They're just down to that solo, if I'm not mistaken, at this point. So really odd for them, but hey, you know what? Can't all be winners of every game. As we look in, oh, this is a nice spot from Team KASIK. I love this from Team KASIK, actually.
Nexus' poor decision making is going to rue the end of their Sanhok game. Off the back of some criticism towards Team Spirit, credit to their experience to back away and get into a position on the southern edge of the circle as a full squad. Naomi across the road, KASIK move on forward. This is a kind of position where you could have a team on the other side of Quarry taking shots towards you. No team is safe. SHOCKWAVE, once again in the late stages of this game, they may only have 2 eliminations, but credit where it's due, showing a higher level of consistency in these finals.
You know who else is? Team Spirit. 10 eliminations. How on
Very
earth
true.
did they get 10? I mean, 2 of them have the equivalent of a squad wipe coming in there, so GG's. I mean, I gotta say, we're down to our top 5. STK been very quiet so far in the first 2 games of the evening. Very quiet. 4 eliminations, that's not bad, but we haven't seen too much of them. SHOCKWAVE now going up ahead. Beautiful name coming in there. English, but no, it's gonna be traded on very easily. SHOCKWAVE not gonna go down that easily there. Gets 1, gets 2. Azer coming in hot with the 3 eliminations. Oh my goodness me. Again, another switcheroonie coming in around that rock. GG's.
Shoot to kill, not really showing the level of aggression that we witnessed in the qualifiers. Maybe they are biting off more than they can chew. Maybe they are now the small fish in the big pond full of sharks, with the likes of Team Spirit, SHOCKWAVE, SPG, and even Nexus. 4 teams are left. Team Spirit, you correctly pointed out, up to 10 eliminations. KASIK, once again, inside the top 4. Back-to-back top 4 results. SPG, they have gone down. On a side note, 13 players left. S2, into the late stages of this game, finds an elimination, but a push comes through. And SHOCKWAVE lose a player at the hands of Nomi.
Ooh, that was a good nade. That was a great nade, but that's an even better MG3 shot. Oh my goodness me. Oh, goes down though. There's so much going on. I'm just looking at all the kill feeds coming in, all the eliminations. I mean, there's a lot of teams with a lot of eliminations right now, but it's just down to that top
Ooh.
3.
Razor, he's most likely going to go down to this nade. KASIK are coming in for a third party, so Team Spirit need to be very, very careful. Yeah, they watch their backs. They know a lot of trouble is coming their way. They're getting pinched. They're getting pincered. These are the final 3 teams inside the first Sanhok game of the finals. Kitsune gets a knock into Razorino. Gives time to get a revive. KASIK being very careful down to just 2 players. It's technically 2v2v2. Razorino has no heals, no bandages, nothing. He's down to a sliver of health, just a little bit of healing off the back of the energy drink. Cooping, pushing forward. Penchik on the underside of the hill. This is KASIK's chicken dinner to steal. But Team Spirit, 13 eliminations. Can they get their first chicken dinner at the finals? They will need to draw all of the experience from their roster to secure this one. This is phase 9. The blue zone starts to close in. SHOCKWAVE technically have the center of the circle, but being in the center of the circle leaves you exposed a little bit more aggressively against the 2 remaining teams. 2v2v3. The body advantage. The push comes in. Team Spirit together, but Kitsune gets knocked down. The side angle with the DBS from Razorino. He's going to go down. Nomi holds on, bows down. Into the smoke he goes. KASIK, like I said, having that low ground, able to take down SHOCKWAVE. It's just 2 teams are left. Effect, knocked down. Nomi has nowhere to go, nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. And KASIK take the chicken dinner.
GG's. Nicely done from Team KASIK. I thought they might end up getting that just because they were the guys waiting in the wings while the 2 squabbled over a little bit of territory. I have to say, though, the amount of players in that teeny tiny, like 4 square meter area that they were just fighting amongst each other. And you had SHOCKWAVE, and you had 3 from Team Spirit, 2 from SHOCKWAVE, and then the 2 KASIK guys in the back. I don't think I've seen that many players be in the same space and not go out immediately. So super well played by everybody concerned there. But yeah, it is going to be Team KASIK. They played that really well, I have to say. They played that really, really nicely. They played their angles right. They third-partied enough, and they waited. They were patient. They had that discipline to come in. So nicely done from KASIK.
I don't think any of these top 3 teams could have played this endgame any better. The tiny thing, and this is always hindsight, by the way. We always got to understand that the players from the teams don't always see what we see, right? They don't. They simply don't. But based off the knowledge and experience they have, I think Team Spirit could have pushed SHOCKWAVE more aggressively once they maybe realized that KASIK were on the low ground of that end circle. But again, hindsight, still a fantastic game from Team Spirit with 20 points off the back of a fantastic first game. Yeah, man, a very good start from Team Spirit.
Yeah, I love that from them. GG's, nicely done. On the other hand, though, we're seeing a lot of zeros coming in there. Leo, MABETEX, Rush, ALPI, and Dagestan, all with 0 eliminations. I mean, that zone, to be fair, was tough. Even Circle 1 was tough. Sanhok is tough in general.
Yeah.
But so many teams with 0 points at whatsoever seems really, really like a tough game.
Yeah, it was, but that's Sanhok, right? I'm going to be less forgiving in that sense. Yeah, with it being the finals and with it being the second game, teams are always going to be a little bit more nervous, trepidatious, kind of, feeling each other out, because it's always different to the likes of qualification. That's why I think we're seeing the likes of Shoot to Kill being not so aggressive. Even the likes of ALPI, to be fair. And MABETEX kind of maybe making silly decisions. But, yeah, it's still, teams need to find themselves. Standard in Sanhok, what we saw. And what will we see in Erangel? Join us after a short break. PUBG Mobile Super League EMEA qualifiers for the EU region. Day 1 of the finals. We've had 2 games down. An SBG chicken dinner and a Team Spirit chicken dinner. Funnily enough, 2 of the 3 teams that we highlighted in our teams to watch.
Yes, we did, except it was Team KASIK that won that Sanhok at Imperium.
Oh, crap. God damn it. Okay, my defense is that Team Spirit were top of the standings.
Yes, that is
That's
true.
I'm going to blame
I think we
voice.
can forgive him,
that's my
chat. We have to give
defense.
him that one.
I'm sorry. Either way, again, I'm kind of digging a hole right here. I'm really digging a hole. Team Spirit have been incredibly strong, more so in that Sanhok game.
They absolutely have. Oh, okay. You know what? I think we can cut him even more slack because look who's the top 2 in the overall ranking. It is going to be Team Spirit coming in here. GG's, but it's also Team KASIK, SBG, losing a little bit of momentum in there in that second game. They went out a little too early for their liking. But they're down just by 1 point. It's not hard to get back up there, but Team KASIK with that win, stepping up to the plate where SBG couldn't and going, hey, we want to be top 2 for a change.
For me, the big shock, pun intended, is Shockwave in 4th. And not even like really far behind in 4th. They're only 7 points behind Team Spirit. They've gotten into the late game both games. They've been far more aggressive than we've seen from them in qualifiers, and one of their weaknesses was consistency, and 2 games, 2 strong results, much better start.
Much better, yeah. Very nicely done from them. Again, yeah, as you said, 3 points away from that 3rd place or 4th place. So very nice. Rush team need to do more, though they were on our spot, you know, our top 3. And they just don't seem to be doing as much as we had hoped. Maybe it's just a warm-up thing, you know, but to counter my own point there, they were fantastic in day number 1 with 3 wins. So something's got to give here.
You correctly pointed out, have they played their cards too early? Have they shown their hand too early? Do they not have a plan B, a plan C? Do they not have an evolution, right? It's up to them to answer that question. Only they can. We can hope that it happens. We can speculate whether it will. But only they can step up and show us that evolution as we get into our first Erangel game of the day.
This is going to be a fun one, especially with that plane path. Oh my goodness me. I mean, right across the south side like that, you're not going to see the likes of Shockwave up in Severny. They're most likely going to have to go to their second drop spot, which in turn could be a hot drop, you know, that sort of thing. So we'll have to see how that works out for teams like Shockwave going up to that north side, SBG as well, going up to Yasnaya normally. Lithuania, we've seen them before, go down to this, the Novo crates down here. Not a hard shift for them at all. But Imperium, is the zone going to be going up towards that northern side? Are they going to get completely blindsided? Or do we have a much nicer game in store for them?
Who knows? We will soon find out. The top 3 performing teams in Erangel in the qualifiers were SBG with 11.6 points per game, Rush Team with 11, and Shoot to Kill with 11. So if there's any time for both Rush Team and Shoot to Kill to kickstart the finals, it's based off previous results. It's now. It's this game.
Yeah.
They just gotta step up as Phase 1 pops up.
100%. Ooh, and it does. It goes to the north side. So teams like MABETEX, who continue to get the short end of the stick when it comes to these drop locations. I mean, honestly, they get hot dropped twice, and now they're outside a zone on an island that everybody is going to gatekeep. It's tough luck for MABETEX for sure. But going back to those other teams across that zone there, you are seeing a lot of teams to the south side, as we would expect. Sneaks coming in with the Scorpion. That is a bold choice for sure, but seems to have done some damage to Azer as they move away as well there. We will be seeing a lot of action coming in, I think. Most definitely. So many teams, right? So many teams all bunched up across each other, trying to get those vehicles, trying to do what they can. Rush team in a bit of spot of bother, to be honest. Uzi does go down, though. The AK2 Strong gets that immediate finish. Nicely done from Rush team. Nicely done indeed.
But why would Poker push that when he has teammates behind him that can easily join him in the next 10-15 seconds? All you have to do was dance around those buildings, slow Rush team down, stop the revive being pulled off, and then it would have been a 3v1. Just whether that was an IGL decision or probably an individual decision, very poor from the mind. And those kind of decisions in this kind of lobby is make or break, right? It's arguably a reason why a team will make it or won't make it. So the Mind Weapon need to clean those kind of decisions up if they're going to step up and get further in the overall standings.
SBG did find vehicles fairly early on, and they're moving up to Yasnaya. So that's going to be a really important position for them, for sure, coming into this. You have a lot of teams that will try and move up from that south side. If they can get those first few large, tall buildings, they should be in a really strong position going forward. It might not be the most active game for them, but it will be one with a lot of points if they play it right. So that's going to be an interesting one to watch. You also see the likes of ALPI, trying to get out of this situation. They do have a lot of teams around them, though. I mean, you've got Team Spirit to their left. You've got KASIK to their top, and then you have STK as well in Milta. So very close quarters. They have to be really careful with how they play that. Leo, though, not faring too badly. They got to Pachinki, no one else did, so they look okay. They're one of the few teams that actually don't have teams around them.
One thing I observed with Shockwave, by the way, instead of in previous Erangel games where the plane path's been heavily south, they've dropped around the shelter area to try and find vehicles, and they've kind of been punished a little bit by the likes of SPG and KASIK. They opted to go for a lot safer drop around the western side of the map, outside Gaka or in between Gaka and Pachinki, pick up vehicles and move then up north towards Severny. And yeah, we saw Azer take a bit of damage, but more importantly, they didn't lose a player. So I think a great alteration to Shockwave's drop to move up to Severny. I would still prefer them have a secondary drop spot, like you alluded to, but if you're talking about adjusting and fixing a previous mistake, good job.
Yeah, excellent job. Yeah, it's a difficult one. When you don't have a secondary drop spot or choose not to go there, it can be very difficult, because if in a plane path like that, you probably have a lot of teams that don't do what they normally do, right? So when you have a team like Shockwave who go somewhere they normally wouldn't, you will run that risk of a lot of teams doing the exact same thing. So, that's where knowledge of the teams go in, and you talk to the players, the players, you're friends with the players, and you kind of go, okay, I don't think they're going to do this, so I think we'll be safe here because they're not going to play this way, that sort of thing. That's where that experience comes in. But for the most part, you are going to be seeing a lot of risky plays coming in there if you decide to do that. It has worked for Shockwave, and again, that's probably where that knowledge, that experience is coming in. But it is a risky play nonetheless. I mean, it's much safer just to have a secondary, but sure, go off, I guess. It's fine. They're in Severny, and all is well with the world, at least for now.
I really like that Leo disengage away from Pachinki really early. I believe it was MABETEX in the past that dropped Pachinki, and they were quite slow. I think it was MABETEX. I could be wrong, but if I remember, it was MABETEX. Whereas Leo, understanding the phase 1 circle, how the river is heavily in play, and having that split between Watertown and the compound across Watertown gives them great scope of information. It's near the edge of the circle. It's away from a lot of action, but great rotation potential.
Just watching this, KASIK reflect goes down. There he goes. Eventually, I mean, that was a big old dance around that around that rock coming in there. But KASIK as well. KASIK, they need to do more here. What is going on with these players not actually supporting their teammates? We saw ALPI in the last game. Now it's Team KASIK, and they're just gonna move away. Oh, Nomi with the Molotov. Oh dear. That might actually be a self Molotov there or a teammate Molotov, not sure which one. I'm slightly disappointed in KASIK. After that win, they should have been able to hold on to those angles far more than they decided to. But that's the decision that was made.
Yeah, but I want to kind of give them an element of defense and understand that, to me, Team Spirit are rotating a lot earlier than they did in the qualifying stage, so therefore that space is busier, right? Great for Team Spirit. They caught a player KASIK down. I don't really hold that against KASIK, and they responded pretty well outside of losing another player to SPG. For me, that was great by Team Spirit to move forward more aggressively earlier.
Yeah. No, I agree. I like how these teams are pushing sooner. I love what Rush is doing. This is a well thought out rotation from them. I might have to say maybe not so much coming in here. They're stopping. They're going straight down to the island. I disagree with that. They need to keep to that North Rozhok cliffside on the other side of the river. There's always that risk that it will hurt them in the long term. Yeah, because listen, like 2 years ago, I don't know how long ago it was, but the old GG won a game from that, and I've loved it ever since because it is so controlling for the rest of the zone. If the zone goes up there, you are looking really, really good. So for a team like Rush that were already headed in that direction, they're not though. They're not. They're gone down to one of those sides. I mean, right above Rozhok City. I mean, right up there. Have they?
Yeah, they've gone north of the river, and now they're moving up to Rozhok. Yeah.
Okay, yes, this is what I like to see. All right, because they had started that trajectory, then the zone popped, and they went down to the islands. And I was like, ew.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I agree.
Moved,
that's the thing, but they turned it around, I think. Great alternative decision. Now they've gone across into Rozhok.
Oh. Okay.
I still think the northern edge of Rozhok would be more effective, but in terms of compared to the island, much better.
Yeah, much, much better than the island. The island's a death trap unless the zone does go immediately onto there, which is not going to. I mean, the zone is mostly school at this point. Dagestan, speaking of the school area, great spot for them. Shoot to kill, also looking good. The mine weapon as well. Got a really good spot in apartments. I hate apartments in classic games because everybody just camps the stairs and it's a nightmare. But in competitive, you know what? They're not going to do that. So, it's a good spot to have. It is a good spot.
No, I disagree.
No?
I disagree.
No? Okay, good.
Even in this circle, I think it's one of the worst spots to have because you are solely relying on the circle staying in apartments. The second that moves away, you have such little disengagement. In terms of percentage to successfully disengage compared to other areas of the map, it's so bad. I venomously dislike apartments as an area inside this kind of circle. Just no. And I hope I'm proven right, but I also will accept if I'm proven wrong.
Right. I will agree with you on that. I see your point, and that is very fair. You are right. There is no real way out if the zone doesn't shift up that way. It kind of does. I mean, they are technically inside this new zone, but I doubt they will be for long unless there's a massive hard shift, right? So, what you're saying is kind of coming into play here, and there they go in the vehicles. They're going to get out early. That's probably their best play so far, is to just get out. SPG as well, moving straight on up. Rush. Gonna have some company.
He's a bad that I'm going to actually disagree with you, and I think apartments would actually have been a little bit
Oh my
more
god, this
acceptable in
guy.
less circumstances. I know, pedantic, but I can explain why later on for sure, as the mind weapon pushing on in towards Rostock. Is going to be home for a number of teams as KASIK move in. The Nameless are up. Their rush team, remember, they moved into this area of phase 2. They opted to go back over towards the north edge. They should have been there from the first place. That has allowed SHOCKWAVE to occupy the northern side of the river across from Rostock in a more of a controlling fashion. And yeah, it's going to be the dance of death inside Rostock for a number of these teams. Committing to the city this early, I still think is a bit of a risk, despite it being dead center.
Yeah, it's interesting how many teams are actually moving in here, right? I think Rush have a brilliant position if they keep to those high ground areas. They're looking pretty darn good. But I always look to the teams outside, right? Because more often than not, it's not the teams in the middle that are squabbling. It's the teams that are waiting for them to finish squabbling that actually get the chicken dinner. So that's who I'm going to be looking for RB. Just moving in again. No rhyme or reason to their pushes, Imperium.
It's just the timing. It's so late. You gotta understand that teams are already there, and Robbie is able to at least turn things around and gets a lovely 2-piece to eliminate the mind weapon. But again, questions have to be asked of why were you so late on that push?
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It really is. But those are all questions that will have to be answered after the game when everybody's back in lobby. I mean, for now, that's going to be fairly quickly for a lot of these players, I have to say. 4RB may have won that push, but they're not going to win here for very long. SBG and MABETEX now going head-to-head over on that compound. You see it there. They're going down one by one. MABETEX pushing quite a bit here, but MABETEX just down to a duo right now. Gonna have to see how that works out for them. Ooh, can't say that name. I can never say that name.
Tenchik.
Yeah.
Or
Tenchik?
Potenchik. I have to genuinely ask, to be honest.
I'm so sorry.
I'm just gonna call him Dave. I'm just gonna call him Dave.
Dave, yes. Dave's much easier.
The risk for SBG is that Team Spear could rock in from behind. You have potential third-party threats from the likes of Rush Team, so by no means the most comfortable position. The next circle does shift down southeast. It is south of the river. NEXUS opted to rotate on the edge of the circle, which I genuinely don't disagree with. It's just unfortunate that the circle has shifted away from them.
I mean, that's the name of the game, isn't it? Sometimes those zones are not going to go your way. You can do your best, but you're not going to zone predict accurately every single time. So it is going to be that way. But NEXUS, I liked the roll-up they did on SHOCKWAVE just then. It was looking really good. It was looking really strong. But I don't disagree.
Oh my god!
Oh!
Metana with a 2-piece, 2 for the price of 1 with the DBS through the window now. Interrupts your public service announcement to bring you this fight between Rush and ALPI. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide through the doorway. Rush are looking to rush in now on the wall. They eliminate Team ALPI. ALPI, like I said, these finals are dog eat dog. And Rush Team, wake up. They find the bark, they find the bite, and they eliminate ALPI.
ALPI just having a rough time so far. We saw some really good stuff from them, but it's not working out in their favor so far. The zone, continues to move on in. We got still so many teams in the middle here, but you do have STK now replacing Mind Weapon in apartments. Dagestan still in school. School has been a really good spot for them so far, so we could see some really cool stuff coming in from them. We'll have to see. S2 as well on that side of the zone as Nexus come on in, guns blazing, but STK have been here for ages. What'd you think was going to happen? Exo Machina goes down.
I feel like there's an element of desperate times call for desperate measures in Nexus. Look, they're going in for it, and they're going to somewhat work out for now. They still have vehicles that they should be able to disengage with. Yeah, they lost a player, but they are going to be able to at least trade it up. The issue is that English is still inside this apartment building, a nade off the wall, looking for the angle of cover. No, a push comes in. Aztec eliminates Redox, another nade, and that's going to be Nexus eliminated.
I think you're right in terms of the desperate measures. I think they're feeling a little desperate right now. They're not sure where to turn. They keep getting turned away at every corner, and it's just not working out for them. They need these points. Only one on the board, though, for this game. It's a tough one for them. It's a tough day so far. Only 3 more games to go for this game, for this day, rather. And they've got 2 more to go. The lead that we said these teams really, really needed is just not happening for Nexus. Maybe it'll come back tomorrow, you know. You need the gap for day 1, but only in terms of having a more comfortable rest of your weekend, right? It's still possible to get the job done in the last 2 days. It's just mean you're gonna sweat for it. So it's a shame, but Nexus still have time. They have time to get this done.
Circle shifts the centers up, but still involves school and apartments. The spread from shoot to kill is quite effective. They have a player inside the circle across from the main apartment buildings into that single 2-story house that overlooks many of the areas of both school and even towards the roadside. Gotta say, apartments has seemed to work out off the back of I forget who it was that occupied. It was Dagestan actually that occupied apartments, and they moved towards school. Credit where it's due. I could have been proven wrong, as apartments is still in play on the edge of the circle. Leo have to move around. Rozhawk is now out of the majority of the circle. Things are going to get very, very tricky.
Kudos to Leo for still being in the game, right? They've been so quiet. But they're still here, and they're still a full squad, and there goes the vehicle over into the other side. Nice third party here. Slightly late, but they had a long way to go. Now the Molotovs and the nades, they're all going to come in. And Andre's got some work to do.
Mori tries to hold things down. Leo now push in. They have to go for it. It's not going to be easy, though, right? Rush have players on the other side. Revive potentially being executed. Leo, can they get the revive to keep them up as a full squad?
Maybe. It's going to be a difficult one, though. Oh, I love this from Lithuania, though. I love this ridge. It's my favorite place, which is not true, considering every game is a different favorite place on Erangel for me. That's fine. Andre somehow missing out on the Molotov there, nicely evaded. But Rush Team might not want to go over there. They might not want to show themselves to Lithuania anytime soon. But now Leo have moved up. They did get that revive. They have grouped up. But the nades are firing in thick and fast. Down goes Booby. Nicely done from Poka. I need Leo to be more aggressive than this, right? That was a great initial push, but now they're just kind of sitting there. Maybe that was the whole plan, but being within nading distance of Rush feels way too dangerous for my liking.
But it's so tricky, and that's a risk of having kind of city buildings that then go away from the circle, is that on one hand you have to switch up your playstyle to kind of go for eliminations, because getting to the top 4, top 5 is incredibly difficult. But with so many other teams around you in buildings, the potential of a third party, should you be aggressive, is quite a lot, right? More often than not. And you can't really get too much of an angle. You can't really kind of get a counter knock. It's just so difficult for all these teams such as Leo Esports. The circle goes towards school. Dagestan 77. Their fans will be going wild. They'll be counting their lucky stars off the back of this circle shift. The thing is, they need to be aware shoot to kill across the way, right? Shoot to kill could breach school. That would be a big test for Dagestan.
I'm looking, all eyes for me, all 2 eyes of mine are looking at Lithuania right now. They in such a prime position. Yes, they kind of... No, they don't have to move into circle, actually. Only one of them is outside of zone right now. So I'm looking at them to hold everybody out right now. They have the means to do it. They're full squad. They're just chilling at the moment. They're just going to be moving forward, just holding and making sure no one else can move forward. That's what I meant to say, but it's quiet at the moment. There's a lot of things going on.
We're steam up to 8 eliminations, so even if this game finishes out earlier than they would have wanted, it's been very successful for them, right? Down to 2 players, Leo do find a bit of aggression, something that you looked for. But as the likes of Shockwave look to move across the road, even the final player, I believe, of KASIK or MABETEX, no, MABETEX, I believe it is, it could also get involved. This is just balls to the wall, anything can happen, and Chris tries to hold on. Marion with the DBS inside this close quarter combat fight. Poke on the outside of the building, using the smokes to his advantage. Reload comes in, and Poker gets knocked down. Marion, the final player left alive, looking for the revive, but I don't think he can quite find it just yet, as he's not comfortable enough, and Marion finishes off Rush, and now he can get the revive.
Nicely done indeed. Rush team, 9 eliminations for Rush. I mean, that's really good work from them. Shockwave now looking to make their push. Nexus right, no, SPG right behind them. Oh, this could get really tasty.
Victor seems to knock himself out, maybe going for a push and got out of the vehicle a little bit too early. Feels sad, man. Happens to the best of us. Now Shockwave, the other French team, made their way across and now looking for their French compatriots. Sanhok knocked. Will trickle down. Spirit on the outside of these buildings, by the way, still up as a full squad and 4 eliminations strong. This is a incredibly calculated game from Spirit. I've been tracking parts of their rotations, parts of their positions, and again, it's been very well executed. They just need to worry about 4 Romanian boys if they have any idea.
I like what, I like what Spirit have done here. They've done a really good job. They're still here. They're still in it to win it. S2, on the other hand, trying to breach school, and it's not going to work just yet. Down they go to Lithuania. Interesting coming in from Lithuania. Not so much looking at the village. They're looking out towards those fields, out towards school area. Nice. Pick up those points wherever you can. Dagestan have not had to move for 20 minutes. Oh my goodness me. They're still in school. School is where we are all going now as we look towards Wagner there, Narvalo. Both these teams here, they're looking at each other, and Spirit is looking at them. Spirit's actually in a really difficult position right now. They've got 3 different teams on their side, and they all have to get into zone.
Class has been dismissed for 9 of these teams, as we're down to 7, 18 players left alive. Team Spirit once again hold on to this game. Striker from Shoot to Kill goes down as well. Sarah's still alive as well. We'll have to start to move, and again, I don't think Spirit have any idea. Little bit of hesitation from Sarah. Focus on 1 player at a time. Okay, Kitsune gets knocked down, but again, he's going to be found. He's going to be eliminated, and all this does is slow Team Spirit down just a little bit, and now they can focus on in front of them as Phase 7 will move into Phase 8. Lithuania on top of Rosshawk Hill. They are definitely aware of the likes of Dagestan 77 shooting at them from school. You mentioned Dagestan 77 have not had to move for the past 20 to 25 minutes. They are handed this chicken dinner on a goddamn silver platter.
A beautiful game coming in from Dagestan and from Lithuania. I love what they've done so far. Interesting push. Not so
Perfect,
sure I would have
perfect.
done this. But they need
No,
the loot. It's okay.
absolutely for
It's
that.
fine.
Yeah, no, because that was perfect in my opinion, because they had already taken down the members of S2, so they kind of knew that they had.
There we go. We're back. We're back, people. Dagestan, though, looking really good. The zone has done them wonders, and they've got 12 eliminations to back that up. Looking very, very nice coming into just the top 2 teams left alive. I tell you what, Team Spirit have had a phenomenal game. There he is. He's back.
I wasn't sure if that was kind of me or the feed, but a little bit of jitters
think it was
happened, and
everybody.
yeah, suddenly it went from kind of like 4 or 5 teams to now just 2. Dagestan 77. I mentioned that they're a high-performing team in Erangel, and yeah, okay, the circle favoured them aggressively, but 12 eliminations speaks for itself. Their only challenge now is Team Spirit. Up to 8 eliminations. Once again, a fantastic result in the palm of their hands. Maybe not quite a chicken dinner, but again, when you're talking about top 3, top 4, a number of points on board, double digits each game, incredibly consistent. Nomi gets a revive, but that's going to be the end of them. Inside the blue, Dagestan 77 finish this game with a chicken dinner.
Beautiful stuff. Really well done. Just so good. Dagestan, you know, they got the zone handed to them, right? But they had over, I think, probably at least 15 eliminations there. So they also earned that win, right? Huge game coming in for them. Really good work. But Team Spirit, again, that's their 3rd game in the top 3 positions, so it's continuing to look good. I think they're really the poster child for what we were talking about, right? About getting that gap sorted in day number 1 and being able to kind of just chill the next 2 days. Dagestan's being a little bit more inconsistent in terms of it's kind of an up and down. This is definitely an up for them. Really good boost in the points. We just have to see how they continue this trajectory into Miramar.
You got to ride the momentum, right? You got to take that confidence builder of a chicken dinner and move on forward with it. Team Spirit are the new SPG in terms of consistency, blueprint. They've been progressively more aggressive while also calculated. That beautiful balance that the likes of Kitsune really brings to a strong roster. SPG, 10 points is not to be messed with. But is it the same SPG we saw in qualifying? I don't think so.
Is it the same team we saw in game number 1?
Yeah.
Not really.
Yeah,
no.
True. Well, yeah, but game 1 was an element of an anomaly, right? Whereas the Dagestan 77 result, right? So again, in terms of just within the first 3 games, hasn't been bad, but it hasn't been controlling. And arguably that's part of the fact that the whole lobby is at a somewhat higher level, despite teams struggling. So SPG, they have things to answer for, in my opinion. They can definitely evolve.
Yeah, they got a little bit of work to do. Maybe it's the same thing as we talked about in Rush, you know? Maybe it was one of those things where they saw everybody saw what they were doing, and maybe that's a little bit of an oopsie on their part coming in there. But I think they got enough experience, to be honest, where they should be able to adapt fairly quickly. They had a good game. They've continued to be fairly consistent. They haven't gone out first yet. So I think they can bounce back from this for sure.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it from the French maestros. Let's head to a quick break. We are halfway through this day 1 of the finals, and we're going to be heading back on over to Sanhok. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the PUBG Mobile Super League EMEA qualifiers for Europe. Like my voice, some of these teams are struggling to adapt to the lobby. They're struggling to really find their feet, and that can be normal in game one. But one team that hasn't is Team Spirit. They are racking up those points, Neptura.
They are. They gotta be having some high spirits tonight after these last few games. Can they bring it forward to the second half, right? We're passing that halfway point of the evening. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Surely they look like they're looking on a good trajectory so far. The gap is widening ever so slightly, right? I mean, 6th place is 18 and 1st place is 45. So already we're seeing a little bit of a gap widening between those few teams there. 37-45, not the worst, but it is still a gap nonetheless. KASIK and Dagestan, though, over on those even Steven points.
Yeah, 15 points divide the top four. An 8 points gap that Team Spirit have over SPG is very healthy within the first 3 teams. You're right in terms of that drop down from 6 below. So NEXUS, Lithuania, S2, the likes of Team Rush all need to understand that the longer they leave it to step up, the harder it's going to be to crawl those points back, because the likes of Team Spirit, they're going to take an inch. They're going to take a mile if you give them an inch, right? So yeah, second half of the standings, definitely looking a bit more dangerous. Even though there's still plenty of games to go, again, that gap, it's widening.
For Romanian boys, definitely a team I thought we'd see more than 9 points coming in for them. Rush and S2K actually in that same boat as well. I thought we'd see far more than the points that we're seeing from them. It is a hard pill to swallow. Mind Weapon as well. 1 point in 3 matches has got to be really disheartening.
It's there's 2 ways of looking at it. One, the simple rule is not how you start, it's how you finish. And 2, the biggest thing that separates the good teams from the great teams is the great teams find a way to bounce back. We've seen so many tournaments where teams turn it around. We've seen so many tournaments where a team goes from the bottom of the standings to the top half of the standings just like that, right? And that's where, even if it's not today, even if it's coming into tomorrow, the likes of the Mind Weapon take a step back. IGL takes control, and they take accountability as both individuals and as a team. Do the VOD review and come into tomorrow much stronger. By the way, I made a mistake on a side note. This is a funny looking Sanhok. I thought it was Sanhok.
It's very funny looking.
It's Miramar. It is. It is.
It do be Miramar coming on in here. We see Rolkas at the top of that plane again. Is it going to be El Hazahar again? Most likely. But is MABETEX going to be thinking the same thing? We'll have to see. This is a much better plane path for all those involved, unless you really, really want to go down to Val Del Mar, which I'm not sure you really want to anyway. It's not particularly amazing spot. It is not that great a loot, and it's hard to get out of, right? If you have a team third-partying you from up top, it's not good. Not good at all. But anyway, I digress. We're going to be seeing where that plane zone is going to be going on down. Now, Miramar has been a big map for some of these teams. SPG, top of that list there, but you've also got Shockwave, you've also got Team Spirit. As we saw in game number 1, we did see all 3 of those teams in those final stages of the last Miramar. So it is the point so far. The stats are holding up true. Are they going to hold up true in this particular zone? I don't know. These teams absolutely will need Jesus for this one.
Las Higos finish, please. Thanks.
Yes.
That's all I really need to say.
100%.
Obviously, the massive threat with it being so south on phase 1 is that it's kind of velocity on his finish. But am I right when it's a very southern, and I think you mentioned this before, but it's a very southern phase 1, it normally ends up around the Chumasera Hills, right?
Yes, it often does. It often does. It will go that direction rather than being interesting. It's either that very, very, very southern coastal tip, or it will be the cliffs over by Chumi. So yeah, we'll see where it goes. It could be one of those areas. Hopefully neither, because it'd be nice to see something different. But yeah, it does go that way. I think we'll probably see a lot of teams treat it like it's going to go that way. If Los Leones is already filled up rather, I think a lot of teams will take that western approach.
Four Romanian boys and the side of Rush team, both in Los Leones. Getting that rotation into the circle is quite accessible with it being a very northern playing path. You have that western roadside. You alright there, Notori? Having a bit of a chuckle to yourself?
No, not
Okay,
at all.
okay,
No, all good.
okay.
All good.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, no
totally.
problem, no problem. And yeah, this is going to be a somewhat quiet part of the game. Obviously, the north side is potentially going to be a little bit more condensed with teams. But understanding that and executing a well-timed rotation is just going to be so valuable to a lot of these teams. It's difficult. That's where research, confidence, and VOD review can be a big positive.
Just watching Lawrence here. What's he doing? What's he doing up there? He's just up by himself. He's not really looted up that much, but it's a great. I mean, it is a great spot, right? You got a lot of view over the
Yeah.
rest of the city, but it's an interesting spot. I'm not sure I've seen that one come through specifically. Dagestan in a great spot, though. I mean, yes, I know Los Leones is always a great spot, but if you look at the rest of where those teams are, there's no one in their vicinity. They're looking really, really
Yeah.
good. Very central. I mean, after coming off of that win, using a similar sort of position in zone, I think they're going to be playing very confidently here. I'd like to see them be a bit more aggressive in mindset. Now, when I say aggressive, I don't always mean, aggressive in eliminations, in the pushes, and in this, that, and the other. I mean moving at the correct time. I mean moving together.
Yeah.
I mean just looking confident, right? Looking like an aggressive team. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they do that. It'll be interesting.
Nice rotation from Lithuania, very early on, down on the south coastal line position of the map. Again, it's the timing of it very early, right? Understanding that when they're there first, they can find an area, lock it down, and control it. You mentioned about kind of confidence and moving. One part that I think is understated and competitive is also the ability to not move. More often than not, teams kind of tend to move because they're uncertain or they're hesitant. And when that happens, because the timing can be a little bit off, they get put off, they get distracted, they get caught out. When you stay in a position for, not like the whole game, but like for a little bit more period of time, you get more comfortable, your heartbeats calm down a bit, you look around, you get more valuable information, and you're able to then execute a more calculated move when you need to. So I think not moving is just as important as moving.
No, absolutely. I agree. You don't have to move all the time. It's oh, Doran just like gonna let that one go. Just let that one slide. He's on his own. Oh, no, absolutely. And I think staying put actually gets a really bad rap amongst fans, right? You get called passive and
Get called
hesitant and
campers,
shy.
stuff like
You
that.
get
Yeah,
called
yeah,
campers. Yeah, snakes. That's a favorite.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
and while that can be true, 90% of the time, certainly at this level, it's really not. It's really just holding a position because you don't have to move, and it's better for your team in this scenario, right? It's better to have that full squad with full loot up and running. So when the stragglers come in that have been fighting for the last 20 minutes, you can just pick them off and win the whole thing. It's a good strategy. Not every single game, but occasionally, sometimes, as part of your strategy, it's a great thing.
When you look at Spirit's split, what do you see?
I see
I know
Nomi out on
Nomi
a
is
limb over
moving.
here.
Yeah, but he had the Turk
Yeah.
side position kind of. I know he's moving away from it, but in terms of getting the early information and then moving around
Very
it, it's a
nice.
great 3-1 split. I really like that from Spirit.
Oh, if only he'd held on to it a little farther. Rush now
Yeah, I
moving in
know,
a
I know.
2-2 right below them. That could have been really nice for them. But again, Nomi, he's not there to hold down the fort. He's there to scout out. So he got to the church
Yeah.
and then he went more south. It's a good thing from Spirit. And they just have to be very careful not to get separated by Team Rush here as they come in for a little bit of that church action. And we'll see how that goes on down for them. SBG, they're returning to a very late rotation. We haven't seen late rotation from them in a little bit, as far as I'm aware. They've been fairly early so far tonight, but they're not this time. They're not even in zone right now. They're just going to be chilling on the outside at the moment, as they're Lithuania. They're also going to be big chilling on the south side. It's getting busy, though. I tell you what, it is getting busy on those cliffs.
KASIK in a similar position to where they, I believe, if I remember rightly, won a chicken dinner in Miramar. So I think they're confident and familiar with this area. They got a knock onto one of the shoot-to-kill players, but the Mind Weapon are closing in to the east of them. It's a very heavy phase 2 shift up towards Los Leones. We could see a number of these teams very early on move into the city. Hold back, guys. You don't need to. If you're Nexus, hang on to the high cliff sides to the east. If you're SPG, hold on to the high cliff side of the north. Don't feel like you need to move in, as KASIK feel like they need to move in against the side of the Mind Weapon. They get there first. They find a knock, but it's traded effectively. A nade comes out, knocks off the wall. The Mind Weapon lose another player. Reflect goes down as well. Cooping trying to heal up in time. The Mind Weapon down to 2.
They just keep getting that one guy nicely done. I like what the knocked player tried to do for the Mind Weapon there. Tried to just trip him up a little bit. But it's not going to work. KASIK moving on in. That was well done from the Mind Weapon. It wasn't the worst defense we've ever seen. It was a decent defense, but unfortunately that doesn't convert onto points very easily, so they will be going out. They're having such a tough time. Now 4 games in and they're still on that 1 point. 1 point overall leaderboard. That's got to be rough. I worry for their mentality now coming in here. They're gotta be so discouraged. And coming into like day 2 off the bat of something like that is not going to be an easy thing to change. So fingers crossed for them that they will continue the good fight and come back. Certainly in the next game, we're not done yet, but also into day 2 and 3 with a changed mindset despite what happens as MABETEX move on in. Here you go, Imperium. Another team that feels the need to move straight into town.
Works out, but again, I somewhat venomously disagree, because if it shifts away, it's just going to be so much more difficult to disengage. Team Spirit have a 3-1 split. I believe it's Kitsune. On the outskirts of the western edge of the circle, you can see, yeah, right there, holding back the members of 4 Romanian boys. I believe the rest of the team will join up on the edge of the circle to hold back the Romanian side.
Team Spirit back on the church. Heck yes, love to see it. Using an edge play, not one we normally see from Team Spirit, but it's working so far. Again, could be taking a page out of SBG's book when it comes to that Miramar, you know, being one of the only teams on the entire side of zone. We'll see how that works out for them. S2 now just moving into zone right now on that southeast side below Nexus. Got a little bit of high ground to work with. Could be quite good as the plane goes overhead there. Nice. Good footage. Shockwave, though. I'm looking directly at Shockwave, to be honest. That's a pretty good spot. Never mind. The zone moves away from them. For goodness sake.
Well, they still have an entry point across the road, but the issues that Team Spirit are much closer. They might occupy understanding that teams will still be looking in around the north. And arguably, Team Spirit don't really have too many other places to go. Naomi's going quite heavily forward, unless he's driving to scout for some information, but he could get taken out by the members of Lithuania as SPG get close to Shockwave.
Not close enough, though. I think Shockwave have just skirted past them there. Nomi is right there, though. They're gonna try and get him down at least. They might actually end up doing it. Oh, but no, they get stopped for a second there. Shockwave getting picked apart. You missed out on SBG, but that doesn't mean you can just go full send against the likes of Kitsune and crew here. You know, you gotta be careful. They're just getting picked off one by one. It feels so messy from Shockwave. What happened?
They just got baited. They got absolutely jebaited, right?
Yeah.
You know, Kitsune is like, oh, I'm all on my own, some guys. Oh,
Oh, no.
take me out. Oh, I'm like a damsel in distress. And it's like, haha, my teammates are behind me.
You thought.
I've got you. You thought. So, yeah, although it was still kind of risky with team spirit, just great teamwork, great communication. And Shockwave paid the price down to 2 players. SPG hold on to the northwestern edge of the circle in Lithuania. Pretty much dead center in around the warehouses and building blocks of the construction site outside Los Leones.
Yeah, I like what Lithuania have done here. They did it in the last game as well. They've got a nice bit of high ground, either center or nearly center, and they're using it to do those third parties. Now, at the end of the day, it didn't really get many elimination points for Lithuania in the last game, but it's far more open here. It's far larger territory, so you're not got that close quarter situation to worry about. So this could work out super well for them. Interestingly, though, Dagestan have moved out of the city, right? This is one of the teams that landed here, and they're not in the city. They're actually to the south side. They're in some warehouses. They're in some cliffs. It's a strong split. I just kind of feel it's a little too far, right? It's too far.
Well, it's too far for a 2-2 split. 3-1 split,
Yeah.
acceptable. But in what, phase 3? Yeah, okay. Arguably, you might think that's kind of okay. But how the circles have shifted and the lack of strong terrain, really strong terrain inside this Miramar circle, 3-1 split, in my opinion, will be more effective for gaining control. But let's see where phase 4 goes.
I feel it's going to center on up. I think it's going to... Ooh, it does. Slightly southwest going towards that direction, but it is fairly center. Lithuania, they're looking pretty good. I think they're probably going to try and make that move to the warehouses across the road. That would be a good spot for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. TNL. I love this dip for them. Unfortunately, they do have to move, though. That's just a funny little ridge to be kept in. They're going to have a hard time getting out of it, actually, because Team Spirit have them pretty locked down. It's so open right now. Their best shot is either a third party or somebody just risking it all for the team and with a big old spray.
Before Romanian boys are
I saw
down south of them as well, so
yeah,
pinch between 2 very dangerous teams. Their movement, like you said, going to be very, very difficult. Dagestan did join up as a full squad, so great reaction to that circle shift. Nexus on the eastern edge of the circle. Yet to really find a massive set of eliminations. Drop to 1 as the Nameless. Yeah, they're getting tickled down, trickled down, punished. Juzo tries to get out. He has to disengage out of the vehicle. It's about to blow up. And 4 Romanian boys do everything that they can. Although they do get a player knocked down. I don't know who that was, but that will slow them down a bit.
will indeed. Oh, and they're in. They've moved. They're out into that zone. They're away from that ridge completely. I think they got massively messed about by those vehicles getting stuck on the terrain. But hey, that's Miramar. It happens to the best of us. Most of the time, when you get eliminated, it's because your car got stuck or flipped or something.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's just a bumpy road out there. So GG's to TNL. They managed to get out as a duo. That's far more than I thought they were going to get out with. So nicely done on that front. Just quickly though, ALPI just down to 2, but they are in those. What are those? Some sort of cooler or of some sort of storage
oil
container?
tanks, water tanks,
Oil tanks,
just
yeah.
massive
Any of those.
circular containers, whatever you want to store them. I don't know the lore of Miramar, but yeah, I still don't like it as a position. I still think it's quite risky. The only benefit is that they're kind of comfortably in this phase 4.
Nexus, I mean, I think we have to talk about Nexus just briefly. They're just now moving into zone, but it is empty for them. They can move into the warehouse that Dagestan had that 2-2 split in. It's looking okay for them, but they continue to not really get that many points on the board, Imperium. They're
Well-
being quiet. They're playing the game well, but is that going
They're
to
being really
convert to anything?
calculated.
They are.
Once a time comes, it should. I understand your trepidation, your question, because they're being more inconsistent times where they haven't done that. But in terms of their movement, I think it's been a very good game for them. They've scouted, they've been calculated. They haven't really had too many teams around them, and it's been an easy game for them. It's what they do with it as we get into this next circle.
Indeed. I will give you that point there. MABETEX looking good as a full squad. They got that 1-3 split going. The one does have it. So we will be seeing them try and do a regroup, but KASIK gonna be really hard on any sort of movement towards that position. 4RB in a hard spot. SDK have figured that out, but English has been taken down there, so now it's a matter of trying to get your teammate back up. It's gonna be open enough to maybe have a shot here, but it's the exact same for 4RB.
I wouldn't go for that revive if I were shoot to kill. It's not only a waste of time, but it's giving 4 Romanian boys the opportunity to pick up eliminations. They find it. So again, ASIC needs to turn his attention to joining his team into the edge of the circle. For 4 Romanian boys, they kind of know that their position is stuck. I think they're confident in knowing that there's a team gatekeeping them in the form of Spirit. So picking up as many eliminations is the best way to play this game.
Lithuania, man, they continue to be in the center of the circle. I love this for them. They're doing some good stuff. I like what I see. They're currently kind of looking at each other, sharing the same sort of latitude line with TNL, right? The duo over there on the screen now. They're kind of looking at the same area. 4RB could definitely decide to move there, but not if Nomi has anything to say about it. Sarah going on down. They stop in their tracks. Are they going to try and get that revive? No way.
Yeah, it was just 4 Romanian boys trying to do what they had to do, and it's somewhat worked out. Spirit, on the other hand, knowing that they have clear sight, clear mind, one of their players gets knocked down, but still a controlling area inside this circle. SPG are to the east of them. Across the road, this next circle is closing in the blue zone, whittling down the ability to control, pushing teams that are outside the circle into EU Esports down on the southwest for Romanian boys and Team Spirit. Across the road, either side.
Oh, it kind of looks like Team Spirit are trying to push this. Nomi is taken down, but it is looking like we might end up seeing a little bit of a push coming in from them. Oh, Nomi's back up. There you go. Nice and done and dusted. But Nexus and Leo, yeah, this was bound to happen down on the south side. They can't move in unless one of them is gone, and I think Nexus, what are they trying to do here? I thought Nexus were going to push, but it kind of looks the opposite.
It seemed like they were initially trying to bait the members of Leo Esports. They still have that warehouse that they moved into the circle, shoot to kill, or going to somewhat third party. They get a knock onto Marine. Nexus might be aware of that, but they might opt to also move back in towards the warehouse, leaving one player on the outskirts, hoping to pick up an elimination or two. Focus as the next circle is about to pop up will be towards how these teams need to move in. Dagestan 77 in controlling position, and it's a central shift. Nexus will be able to move little by little, but again, as we see the later circles, teams are naturally going to see each other more. They're naturally going to get closer, even if it's on the other side of the circle. Nexus will want to be aware of that.
I love this for these three teams. TNL is just a solo, but he has so much power right now, especially as Lithuania try and third party any pushes toward him. That could really save him. Dagestan as well just have to wait and listen and watch, but it's all going down on this eastern side.
Rush team kept on to the edge of Los Leones. MABETEX, you pointed out that they were moving in, that they had a bit of a gatekeeper on the edge of the circle. Well, now they have a wall of players, a wall of smoke, a wall of bloom, a wall of damage. KASIK joining them in for the mix. ALPI as well, but Kenzu has his back covered fine, fearless. ALPI down to just a solo player. All the while, I believe the last player from S2 is just staying back, watching all this go down, hearing all these shots, staying comfortably on the eastern edge of this circle. Lithuania have had to do nothing in this game, while KASIK fighting for their life, having to be aware that if they go too far away from the building, they could get third party. Nade after nade after nade. MABETEX lose another player.
MABETEX, beautiful push from MABETEX. I love this so much from them. Might get a little caught out, but it was great momentum, right? Great aggression coming in from them, nicely timed on this. But it's Rush, ALPI, KASIK, and MABETEX all in these last couple of buildings. It's bound to be a bloodbath, but who is going to win out on top here? MABETEX certainly have that man advantage.
More importantly, able to get the revive as well, while the members of Rush team don't really know where to go, where to turn. Psyox with the pre-nade tickles down a member of Rush team, but a counter nade tries to slow down the members of MABETEX. This is the strongest, most aggressive game we've seen, at least from MABETEX so far. I wouldn't mind seeing them come out on top. It's going to be easier said than done. I think that was a smoke by one of the Rush players to try and maybe slow down MABETEX. Back up as a full squad, pushing towards the side of the building. Phase 6, blue zone trickling in. How much utility have these teams got? 2 more nades for Strictly. You got to make them count, my friend. On the outside of the building, he finds Haisu, a beautiful Kobe. Another one on the edge of the windowsill. Will that connect? No, it won't. He's going to hear the footsteps. Goes outside. Great peek on the angle. Gives a little bit of time for not only Rush to win, but possibly get another elimination. But MABETEX have their backs covered. They will find a wipe. But KASIK now looking to third party, opportunistic all the time, every chance they get. MABETEX are broken, beaten, scarred down, but they're both inside the circle.
What a fight. What a fight. MABETEX pushing back really strongly there. Nicely done. Rush team tried their best. They did. But MABETEX just timed that really well there. The zone continues to go down to that south side. Nope, to the central side. There you go. NEXUS getting rid of Leo once and for all. As STK, they're the next solo on the chopping block, right? They're only there just hanging out in between 2 big teams. But it's still up to KASIK and MABETEX. The DBS off.
Talking about solo, SPG down to the solo. KASIK 2 players with the DBS. Kenzu 3 against 2 finds a knockdown. 3 against 1. Ashipa will connect on the Psyox. The DBS is just too powerful in these moments, in these close quarter combat fights. Lovely peek with the third party. Finds a second. He's just going to be a 1v3 as the door closes in. Yes, it is. Shapika peeks in. Finds his squad wipe, finds the fight, finds the moment to keep KASIK alive with 11 eliminations. What a turnaround for KASIK.
Beautiful stuff. They had that win on Sanhok. They're looking for a lot of points on Miramar's NEXUS Kapahala, just trying to do this, but he does it. But not for long, I bet. Dagestan looking like they want to take him out as soon as he gets up there. No! Shishipa does go down at the end of the day. The win was not for long. S2 claiming one of those eliminations there. That solo for S2. Just gonna go ahead and sneak an elimination in there somewhere. Nicely done. It's, you know, you have to say it's gatekeeping. Not the easiest thing to do. And for a solo to just sneak a little bit of an elimination point their way. Very nicely done, but Dagestan NEXUS looking very much like they want this compound, and why not? It's been centered up on this entire time. It's bound to go that way again, but NEXUS, you can see them moving around to the other side of the building because Team Spirit are looking their way.
I like the push from the side of Nexus to get into the side of the warehouse, but you're right, the threat from Team Spirit is there. S2, the solo player, coming into play. Shoot to Kill also lost their last player, so they're out. 7 teams left, 20 players alive. What's interesting is SPG are just down to a solo. Shockwave outside the circle across the road. Kapala finds the initial knock on the Obli of Dagestan 77. Both Nexus and Dagestan 77 have an incredible community, an incredible fan base. Both these teams will have the support in chat. Who's going to use the support to the maximum strength as Shockwave go down? The nades come in onto towards the warehouse. The breach is made, but volleys are going to slow Nexus down. The top half of this warehouse has Magnum with a pre-nade. Finds it, but that's going to be beautiful by Exo Machina to take out the off-angle player and leave Dagestan down to just 2 players alive. Make that one as Kapahala with the UMP, baby, for Nexus. Miramar has always been their map. It's always been their controlling part of the game. And now they're up to 6. They need to finish off Dagestan 77. But Sadira is all the way in the top. Nexus still alive as a full squad.
Spirit ones with the 1-3 split coming in there. Naomi having a few eyes over there on to SBG solo as well. But Dagestan, you're right. Could get another squeak, another elimination, but no, does not get the shots on Zadira. No! As the solo, 2 eliminations on the board, you need to get some points, man. S2, it's gonna go over to somebody else, not to Dagestan there. Nexus now in a hard spot. Spirit right on top of them. They need to get out, and they're not allowing them to.
But Spirit have a bigger task in front of them, right? They're trying to take so many fights. They have 2 teams to the north. They have 1 team to the south. Are they splitting it too much? They see inside the doorway. Of course, this is phase 9. Naomi gets knocked by the final player, Dagestan 77. I didn't realize that final player was still alive. And as he goes down, this could slow Team Spirit's ability to close out this game. And that's going to be Nexus pushing in. Effect eliminated. Like I said, Spirit taking off more than they can chew. SPG still alive. Lithuania. Can they represent their country in the strongest way so far in today's games? Claim a chicken dinner on Miramar. Or will SPG return to form? Will Nexus as well show us what they've got? Shows that they have the ability, but Team Spirit, what are you doing? Last game, it was Kitsune, or last Miramar's Kitsune. This time, it could have been Nomi, but it's too little too late. Kapahala saves the day. And now we're left with just 2 teams. 4v2. Well, that's if the revive is pulled through, but I don't think Lithuania is going to let that revive come through. Again, Blue Zone is quickly encapsulating the players in Nexus. What a way to end this second Miramar game of the day. Nexus returning to form. And Nade once again works. Kapahala. The man is a legend. My God, he makes my blood pump through my veins. But let's be fair, Lithuania had the experience. Roke is still alive. We saw what he's done previously for his side. He has the experience. He has the ability. And Kapahala gets knocked. This is the opening for Lithuania. It all falls down on Redox. On the underside of the hill, the Blue Zone. He's probably just going to fall down. He's not going to give the point over. Very clever. And Lithuania take the chicken dinner.
Love to see it. Lithuania, let's go. Finally, right? We've been wanting to see so much more from this team than we've been able to. Certainly in the qualifiers, even today. And here we go. It's about time. We've seen these guys so many times before in the EU region. They are back. They have that win, and a great win it was.
Cleaner rotation, cleaner control. The game wasn't handed to them by any means, by the way. No. They moved effectively. It was an interesting circle finish, but yeah, a well-executed game. And the fact that they survived, I believe, at the very end as a full squad, if not as a 3-man team, showed how well they controlled the whole game.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think Nexus, though, you got to say something about Nexus, right? I do think that Team Spirit did go over the top there in the end. They just over controlled a little bit, just spread themselves a little too thin. Nexus took full advantage of that, but over such rough ground, so open, so flat, really hard job to do nonetheless. So GG's.
I tell you what, this leaderboard is going to start heating up big time. Nexus were coming into this on 6th place. They get 17 points. KASIK team were coming into this game with 3rd, and they pick up 11 points. The one outlier is Team Spirit continue to be consistent. The gap they're going to have in the overall standings, I think, is going to be well over 10 points, if not closer to 20 points, in my opinion.
No, absolutely. I totally agree. It's got to be there, right? This is their fourth top 3, right? It's 5th?
I think
no, not 5th, but 3rd or 4th.
Out of 4 games, they've had 5 top 3s. That's some French maths right there, guys. Fantastic.
No. No, I mean, I just saying they're that good. They're that good to take 5 top 5s out of 4 games. But yeah, no, totally some good stuff coming in from a lot of these teams. We're definitely seeing the dominant forces so far. Is that going to change in the next Sanhok, though? Sanhok is such a map that the outliers generally win. So going to be an interesting one for sure.
Yeah, let's head to a short break and we will be back with, I can actually correctly say, our next Sanhok game of the day. Welcome back to the PUBG Mobile Super League EMEA qualifiers for Europe, myself, Imperium with Neptur. We are 4 games into day 1 of the finals. We still have 2 more epic days of action, but what a start we've had, right? Couple of surprises, but also, let's be fair, a couple of standard stuff in terms of team spirit. My God.
Just what can you say about team spirit? We had our doubts, right? In qualifiers, they were looking a little shaky, and we did call into question, you know, maybe they're just doing that thing that we've seen before, coming in, you know, and doing the really slow approach, and then coming in the last day, and that's what they did. But they're not doing it this time. 63 points to 42. What?
21-point gap. That is the same gap that second place has down to roughly 8th, right? That's how big of a gap that Team Spirit have. Without, I might add, without a chicken dinner. The biggest outlier is actually, honestly, both elimination points and placement points. They have the highest placement points without a chicken dinner. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. That is actually insane. You're right. I mean, Dagestan have that win, sure, but they've only gained 3 placement points outside of that, right, in 4 games. Same for KASIK with 6 points. SPG, I mean, better than most, but only 10 points outside of their wins. So for Team Spirit to have 22 above teams that have that win just shows you how consistent they are becoming, how they are right now. And 41 eliminations, double what everybody else has, is just the icing on the cake.
Nexus Gaming, a massive push up into the top 5. They're now only 7 points behind SPG in second place, and I think SPG has kind of been the biggest surprise. We'll continue talking about it until it changes, in my opinion. Haven't really found that form, that aggression, that fight. They're rotating in a similar fashion, but they're not really taking advantage in the right ways, in my opinion.
Shoot to kill, been another outlier that we haven't seen much from so far today. That could all change in this next Sanhok game, you know, as we kind of hinted at before break. It's definitely a map where teams that aren't doing so well often find their momentum and their wins going forward. So we'll see. Maybe Shoot to Kill are going to be one of those teams to do that, because so far they're nothing like what we saw in qualifiers.
Yeah, and that, again, that's always a factor, right? We mentioned it, when you include kind of more teams in a qualifier, that factors in a lower standard of teams. It can be easier for other teams to take advantage of that. Plus, one thing that I want to put to you, and I'm curious if you agree with this, some teams perform better when the lobby is at a higher standard, right? Just some teams kind of like, because they're maybe used to it more, that when they're in a lobby that is in reality of a lower skill, they actually can perform worse because there is less familiarity, or there's more randomness of where other teams around them will go. Whereas in a more competitive lobby, teams are a little bit more familiar with how they move and rotate through the circles. I don't know if you'd agree with me.
I agree to an extent, but I also think it might also have to do with when you are faced with that kind of lobby, maybe your guard unconsciously or subconsciously gets lowered a little bit, right? You don't feel like you have to play at your absolute best like you would against maybe, you know, the Team Spirits and the Nexuses of the world. And so you could actually see a lot of those teams feel like they don't really have to do that much, so you end up having teams that maybe just split a little too far or scout a little too far and end up losing players, because for those other teams, they need to do their best, right? They're like, okay, this is a step up, we need to get this done, and so they're far more on the ball than those other teams.
0 hot drops in this second Sanhok game of the day, so Leo moved away. Well, okay, they're coming across MABETEX, but they still moved away from boot camp. Rush moved away from Camp Alpha, and who else was it that had hot dropped in the previous Sanhok game? Sure, there's one other team, but yeah, 0 hot drops in this one.
Yeah, MABETEX have decided to let S2 have Camp Alpha. Is it going to really work out in their favor? We'll have to see. They did already lose one to Leo. Of course, Leo being one of those teams that if you have to lose a team to them, it's not the end of the world, and Leo actually want those points, so it's not the end of the world, but that zone is going to make things very difficult for these teams, for those teams on that eastern side. I have to say, Leo and MABETEX, they got ALPI to deal with and TNL when they get the chance to actually move on up. They're going to get pressured from behind. I don't really love this for them, not from them. It's only their landing spot, right? There's not much they can do about that. But I would like to see, and Imperium, you're gonna love this. I'd like to see a botation from them into Circle, round to the north side, or to Magnai. That's what I'd like to see.
Hell yeah.
Heck
I'll
yeah,
always
yeah,
remember
absolutely.
back in PMCO 2019 at the Berlin finals, prelim finals. Team Queso from Argentina always boated in Sanhok.
Really?
And they boated 9 times out of 10 successfully. That's when I fell in love with the botation, in my opinion. And I'll always remember that. And I'll always be a firm believer. The big thing is that if you're going to pull off a botation, you do it really early. I'm talking like now or like 20 seconds ago, that kind of thing. Otherwise, you just basically longer leave it, the less effective it becomes.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I would absolutely love to see Leo make a really early rotation up through the water to the northern side. I agree. If you leave it late, you just end up getting picked off by teams who are on that coastline. But in either way, I think Leo are looking to get picked off here bit by bit. Takami really, really over aggressive there. Really not great work from him. He does make it to those buildings, but for how long? His team now are in a position where they have to come rescue the guy because he just overshot it just there. Purple gonna come in, try and get this done, but he's got to be very careful of that hillside. He does see people coming in. There we go. That's gonna be the trio rolling on in. Who's gonna do it? Purple isn't, that's for sure.
Honestly, I actually think that was okay. Certainly a risky play from the Nameless, but again, just an element of baiting that came through. Leo had a player knocked, by the way, so they had to get the revive. So there's no real possibility for Leo as a team to... Well, okay, there was a possibility, but they opted to go for the revive. There's no real possibility that they decided to take advantage of that, and the Nameless... as much as it was a risk for Takami, in my opinion, as a team effort, worked out quite well. The only issue now is that they have their off-angle player knocked down. Andre finds a second one, so now the Nameless are just down to one player.
And it's the guy that started it all as well, which is quite interesting. But no, he does go down. There we go. Leo up to 5 eliminations at this point in time. It's a great start. Again, Sanhok, it does great things to teams that are struggling. So for Leo, this is a great start for them. They currently have all the eliminations at the moment, so looking good. Looking good for
Wow.
sure. S2. Wait, what? Just moving straight across the bridge. Somebody was lurking under it. They passed the troll. Didn't even worry about it.
Did not pay the fine, but still passed go and collected a great position inside the circle. Again, an early rotation as KASIK moved past Leo. I wonder if they would have heard the shots between Leo and the Nameless. I don't know how close they were, but I'd imagine they would have. If they didn't, fair enough. If they did, that was quite risky. And I understand and appreciate that Leo actually opting to avoid it, because they're now at a point, especially as a 3-person team, where they have a solid base of points, right? The foundational points they have with 5 already, they can play, not like super passive, but they can play a lot more passive than a team that has 0 points in Sanhok.
I want to get your thoughts on Rush's current position and rotation. It seems very slow to me, but at the same time, I could understand where they're coming from.
No, I think it's fine because understanding that coming from the south, the teams up north, if they rotate too early, they were more likely to get close to the likes of Team Spirit. It's just that standard effect of let's wait for the other teams to move forward. It's still only phase 1. Plus, there's a really high chance that phase 2 could shift down south. And they have sightlines over onto the Northwest Island. So in my eyes, Rush had a fantastic rotation as Leo takes a ton of damage, and MABETEX taking advantage, picking up one. Can they find another?
Can they indeed? They do, for now. Andre does go down as well, so that's just going to be Leo down to 2, but they still have those eliminations on their side. We'll see how that goes. The zone is about to circle on up, and it does not go to Mong Nai. 4RB needed this zone for themselves. They really did, but it's not going to be the case. They're going to have to settle with just that little sliver there. Royal, the only player inside of that zone. Nexus, on the other hand, we've been so busy on the south side. This split coming in from Nexus, very bold, but I see it so working.
It's all about how they adjust, how they adapt, I would say. Get closer as a full squad off the back of this circle, shifting. I'm curious on your thoughts, Neptor, of SPG's continuation of staying inside Paradise. I think that was a bit of a mistake, as they've allowed Spirit to get too close to them. But again, curious on your thoughts.
I think Spirit are far enough away where it's not an issue. I kind of like what SPG have done. They've held back a little bit. They are in center zone, and they've realized that those late rotations of the last game didn't work for them. So they're just going to stay put for now instead of rotating and risking it this early on. I think they might try and maintain a position, go for the placement perhaps, get as many eliminations as they can, and risk going out later on in the game.
Kapahala getting a knock onto one of the Spirit players, so third party, with S2 also third party. Russia are on that North Bootcamp Hill, by the way, in a fantastic position across the road, or shoot to kill as well of them on the hillside. So a lot of these teams in a good position. It's going to be tricky for Lithuania as well, coming in from the south.
S2, I've always loved this spot, particularly on Sanhok. Really, any large for me, and look very good for in a little bit of trouble. They're trying to split cleverly here, but when you have these many teams all at once, it can be a little bit of a risk coming in. We'll see how that goes for them, but S2 looking good for now. We will see ALPI on the other side, though. I like what we see there, a little bit of a spread across, but I gotta say the split of the year goes to Nexus for this one. It's just huge, but it does work, right? You're getting so much info from this.
You're getting information, but again, Redox is really exposed in my eyes. All it's going to take is for ALPI to move up on top of the hill as a 3-man team, and that's going to be the end of him, and the rest of the team aren't really going to be able to respond.
Shockwave, on the other hand, moving straight into ALPI. You can see them here coming in bit by bit. I'd like to see more of a vehicle push from them, though. You have ALPI in an okay position, but certainly one that could be pushed against with some vehicles. But he's going to go in the way of 4RB as well. But beautiful nade, you're right, coming in here on the other side of that rock.
Cover your backs, ALPI. Right, you got to know this is phase 2 coming into phase 3. The opportunity of a third party is massive. You either push forward as a whole team, or you kind of stay back as a whole team. As the next circle pops up, who will it go towards? We haven't seen it. It shifts heavily down the southwest, right into the arms of Russia's position, and you question the slowness of Russia's rotation. I say it was perfectly executed. Okay, I didn't know it was going to stick in their direction, but again, there's always that potential on the very northern phase 1, and it's worked out perfectly.
It sure has. They definitely have got something to work with now. They have to be careful of STK, though. They're going to be looking in that direction as well as Lithuania. But at the minute, it's Dagestan and S2.
S2 now joining up as a full squad to try and push back, but there are players of Dagestan in the back line. Magnum needs to provide the support. Zadira is doing a great job of slowing things down against S2. Scale back, Zadira. Even if it means going a little bit more out into the open, you will push S2 players towards your teammates. Have the communication, have the confidence, as Wandu cooks up a nade. Zadira, that nade is cooked up too heavily. Gordon Ramsay wouldn't be too impressed with that one, my friend. It's a bit of a stalemate as we still have 50 players alive in this phase 3.
50? Oh my god, yeah. Oh, Zadira. Going on down. It's not a good time for anybody at this point in time for RB, feeling the effects of Nexus. But now Nexus, of course, have to move. You see, SBG in Paradise, they got a full squad still. They're ready to go. They got a nice little split. KASIK might try to do something about them, though, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. But it is going to be for RB and Nexus. The jumping tactic is not going to work here. He knows where you are. Here comes the Molotov. Maybe not. For RB.
You got to know a perfectly cooked nade behind that rock is going to be a double knock. And this is where the lack of cohesiveness and the lack of kind of getting together as a full squad is really hurting Nexus. If they had joined closer together in the previous phase, the ability to defend and engage on this fight would have been so much more effective. And despite 4 Romanian boys having 2 players knocked down, they're given so much more time to get the revive, to get back together and take a bit more control in this engagement.
Oh, excuse me there. Yeah, you also see ALPI in the background, right? They're unlikely to push this particular position, but definitely going to be in a gatekeep position later on in zone there. Nexus for RB. It's going on too long. It's too messy, too uncoordinated. We're going to have to see how... It's just not working. There goes Royal. He's just going to say, nah, I'm out. It's all good. For RB, man, it just been... it's there, right? But they just don't follow through.
Yeah, but for Nexus, they should have cleaned that fight up much earlier. They didn't even have to lose a player taking too long. I've already spoken about it. This game moves on. Shifts heavily down south. Lithuania benefited from that massively. Okay, they're in a compound by a crossroad. It's not the most comfortable position. Should the next circle shift away, they're going to have shoot to kill to one side, they're going to have rush to the other side. But luckily, Shockwave are whittling down the members of shoot to kill, and now just English left alive.
I tell you what, Rush looking better and better as the zones continue to shift down to their side. Now, it's again Lithuania down to the south side. Not the strongest position we've seen them in so far tonight, but it is looking good, right? It is in that circle. They are up as 4. They haven't had much interference yet, so they're looking very strong, I think. But now, Nexus, Spirit, very close to each other, not quite going to see each other though as they move into that
Nexus.
northern side.
Nexus, where are you going? What are you doing?
Don't do that,
oh
please.
My God, we've seen this happen before, and I don't know how the hell that has somewhat worked out, but my God, it has. As last player of shoot to kill is hoping that he doesn't get spotted. That's a lovely nade. They have an idea, and in through the corner of the window, that's going to be shoot to kill taken down. I cannot believe that push for Nexus, that so-called rotation, worked out. Credit where it's due. They knew where they arguably wanted to go, and yeah, it paid off.
It did. It did. They got a good spot. It's a difficult position to really use effectively, but they did it, right? And that's all that matters. They're still in it. They still got skin in the game. ALPI moving in. Oh, just about gets inside zone there. GG's. But KASIK have bigger fish to fry. SBG trying to get this gatekeep. Now, this is where you could say SBG have stayed here a little too long. Yes, there were a lot of teams around them, but now they're getting gate kept. 40 seconds on that zone. KASIK is a 3-man. It's going to be a tough one.
I hate to say I told you so, but I told you so. That's a problem with staying inside Paradise Resort for too long. Just, honestly, somewhat amateur play from SPG. They will look to try and at least get around it, as KASIK are just being a bit too passive on their side. Still a full squad for SPG. They have that to their advantage. Time is ticking down as Phase 5 continues to shift down towards the southwest, effectively benefiting Rush and, to an extent, Lithuania. The DBS's inside Sanhok proven to be too much, and not only Leo Esports go down, but also KASIK are eliminated. 4 points for SBG so far.
Ooh, an S2. I like what I've seen from S2 so far. They've been aggressive in their way, and they're about to do it again here. Oh, S2 right on that ridge. Since when? They've just snuck up in between Team Spirit and SBG right along this ridge on the outside of zone, and they are about to make SBG's life miserable.
Yeah, I saw this coming a mile away, to be honest. Despite them getting the elimination points against KASIK, they've been taken down. It's very narrow-minded play from SBG, and fundamentally they've lost their mojo in the finals. They've lost their je ne sais quoi, and they need to find it extremely quickly if they're going to turn their tide around. And I say that in the most positive way possible. As we're down to 18s, make that 21 players alive inside this Phase 5. Spirit have the compound locked down, but S2, off the back of a fantastic squad wipe against SPG, are overbearing them on the hillside.
Spirit gonna have a hard time getting out of this one, as are Lithuania. Rush doing great work against them. Again, I think it's another team that left it a little too long, right? Lithuania just down on that bottom side, left it till the last minute, and now Rush with that upper hand, that higher level, they're just able to take them out one by one. A beautiful nade from Mori. Oh my goodness. NEXUS now joining the fight, taking out Rolkis there. So Lithuania had such a good run. It seems in Sanhok they're unable to continue it. I'm not going to say their run is over, because there's by no means can they never do this again, right? But in this Sanhok, it just has not worked out for them. Rush still going to be in a position to do good things.
Circle, ping pong is back up towards the northeast, right into the heart of the compound as S2 have breached the buildings. Team Spirit, 0 eliminations, surprisingly, in this game so far, but they have 3 bodies left in the mix. They know the S2 are there. It's a bit of a stalemate. I love Kai's position on the hillside, overlooking, giving so much information to the rest of the team. If he does get knocked, I do think it's the anchor position really kind of taken away, and the ship could quickly sail for S2. But in terms of really giving that information to his team, great spot from Kai as Shockwave move up against NEXUS.
Shockwave, come on, you gotta have one more nade in there. Oh, he doesn't, but he does have a DBS, but Shockwave have the nade. Oh, beautiful stuff coming in there, the nade and the DBS, both on each side, but it is gonna be NEXUS who take that out. Nicely done there. NEXUS live to fight another day, but for how much longer? Imperium, the zone is so open now. This rock is kind of their last chance at any sort of cover, and the zone continues to go straight up to Spirit and S2.
But here's the thing, where Spirit lie right now, it's not really troubling NEXUS too much. It's Rush to have the biggest threat on the NEXUS, as NEXUS will look to move in towards the southern edge of the circle. Rush on their own side, though, need to get rid of the last member of Dagestan 77. 5 teams are left in this game. Spirit, S2, Rush team, Dagestan 77, and NEXUS Gaming. Team Spirit, once again, another game in the top 5. The lack of elimination points will slow down their ability to get double digits, as Exo Machina gets a knock into one of the members of Team Rush. It's a responded return. Redox goes down, but Dagestan, should I say, will get the final kill onto the members of Rush Team, and that is perfect for Nexus. Not only will they be able to get into the blue, but they'll be able to get a revive and focus on the next target. I think Spirit now have a strong idea where the members of Nexus are behind that rock. They will turn their attention as the blue zone closes in on FaZe. 8 Neptura on the crack of the wall. The gap is there, but they still have to watch their backs as S2 are swarming in. They have to move down towards the hillside. Another player gets knocked for Nexus. Redox, I believe that's his third time getting knocked, so his health will go down, and I don't think Exo Machina can keep him alive, but he will get a knock onto Kitsune. Unfortunately, he goes down, but this is the opportunity. This is the time for S2 to strike. Surely they've seen it in the elimination feed. Surely they know that they're broken, beaten and bruised on top of the roof play. Naomi gets knocked, and it's just one player left alive. Make that 2 as Kitsune gets revived inside the doorway. Nowhere to run, nowhere to high. Effect makes it in the blue zone. Will probably deny the point, and Effect will go down. And S2 get the chicken dinner.
S2, well done. Love that for you guys. They've been so good, and they continue to be so good. Oh my goodness me.
Yeah.
A great play sneaking in between Team Spirit and SBG, taking out SBG nearly second-handedly there, and just waiting, biding their time. I almost would have liked to see them maybe try and take out Team Spirit a little bit earlier, but that's me being really nitpicky, and they probably wouldn't have actually been able to do that because there were a lot of teams elsewhere doing other things and looking at them. So I agree with how they played that. If you want to be really nitpicky, maybe you could say something like that, but honestly, no, S2 played that super duper well.
Man, what a Sanhok game. S2 picking up more points in this one game than they had coming into this game overall. They only had 15 points. For me, the big plus is Nexus Gaming. I questioned them, and honestly, they're kind of proving me wrong, which really makes me happy, of course. Picking up 14 points, a lot more aggressive, a lot more cohesive, and continued to stay in a fight when in other games in the qualifiers, they just went down too easy, so fair play to them. And Shockwave picking up 9 points too.
Yeah, very nicely done indeed, as we see, Lithuania doing the exact same thing as they've done, but this time just not working out. 2 points total, not what you want to see. The mind weapon again, 0 points on the board. I cannot believe that they're going to continue this trajectory of 5 games in and 1 overall point.
It's going to require a massive turnaround for them in day 2. I don't want to say they're out, but we do need to recognize that until they give us something else, it is what it is from them. I'm not going to kind of kick a man while they're down, if that makes sense, between the mind weapon and the nameless. But in the back of my head, I'm really hoping that they'll turn things around coming into tomorrow's set of games. It's tough, but this is the finals, right? This is where you have to turn up, show up, and perform at the highest level. With one more game to go today, the hollow grounds of Erangel, who will grab the last chicken dinner of the day. Don't go away. I'll see you in a few. PUBG Mobile Super League. Oh my god, my camera is turned off. I'm black, and I'm back.
There we go.
There you go. Sorry about that. My god, I'm gonna low-key blame the producer for not reminding me to turn my camera on. I'm sick. That's also my defense. As we look at the overall standings, Team Spirit and Nexus Gaming, now the top two, both with 0 chicken dinners. That is interesting.
Wow. Nexus, that was a massive game for them, far more than I kind of realized that the Miramar and the Sanhok put together, far bigger than I think a lot of people would have thought coming in there. Still a massive gap between Team Spirit and Nexus, but now beating out SBG, beating out Team KASIK, Dutchsten as well. You know, these teams very, very close, but Nexus getting that edge. GG's.
32 points between first and second. It's incredible. Nexus's aggression is very good, but their lack of placing points is weighing them down the most at the moment, right? Looking towards the middle of the pack, it's in a good way surprised to see Shockwave and Lithuania up there. But again, having Rokas now playing in the finals does give them that boost. And Dagestan 77 in 5th on 40 points. It's very close, right, between 2nd and 8th. Only 15 points.
Yeah, gosh, imagine that. It's what you love to see, right? When you get to, you know, these kinds of events, that's what you want to see. You want to see everybody super duper close. Again, even from day one, it's coming down to the last game about who's really going to come out on top. Because at the moment, the way they're all playing, top 8, top 9, all have a chance at another win, or maybe if you're the top 2, the first win.
Well, that's true, but here's the thing. Right now, it's only 9 teams or 8 teams fighting for one spot with how much of a lead Team Spirit have in the overall standings. So that's something that, again, I'm not saying teams should be targeting Team Spirit, of course, but in terms of finding a way to counter Team Spirit coming into future days, wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing, right? Still incredibly close. Open door for all these teams to come up and find their place in the top half of the standings. We saw S2, like I pointed out, get more points in that last game than they had leading into it. That's boosted them up into the top 8.
It has. It's a really good show of skill. You know, in qualifiers, when you have these new teams, it's always fun to see these little glimpses, these little nuggets of goodness coming in from these teams, of that talent coming through, where the inexperience is kind of shadowing that. Again, for S2, for me, I saw a lot of that coming in from them, and they're finally being able to come out from underneath that shade in these finals. It's looking really, really good for them. They get the win. It's a good job from them, and you see that result directly on the leaderboard.
You got to follow the momentum, though, right? You got to bleed into the next game. You can't go out with 0 points or 1 point in the next game, especially the final game of the day. Ending on a good result is so much more valuable to a team's confidence or a team's morale coming into the start of day 2 than people realize. Even if you're down in the bottom half, if you end with double digits, you're able to listen, take accountability, provide feedback in a much more calming way, in my opinion. Whereas if you end on a bad performance, even in the top half, there's an element of a sour. I'm not saying it affects all teams, but there can be an element of a sour note in feedback being provided, and that can cause tension, arguments. So yeah, ending on a high note, so much more important.
Absolutely, yeah. We're looking for that high note for all the teams. I mean, it can't happen to every single one. You know, all 16 teams can't win, can't be in that top 3 for the final game, but they can sure give it a darn good try. And you know what? Also, little side note slightly is a good game doesn't have to be in terms of points. It doesn't have to be in terms of the win or anything. A good game has to be, we played that well. And even though we lost, even though we came in 11th place with 2 eliminations, we played that well. It's an improvement from game 1, and we can be happy with that, right? So to me,
That's
even there,
that's such a coach response, and I say
it
that in a
is.
really good way. No, but it is. It's such a coach
Mm-hmm.
response, and more teams could listen to what you said and take that on board because you're so right.
I mean, yeah, I think so much players, we all want to win. We all want to be really, really good and have that epic 15 elimination win to go to bed on, but it doesn't always happen that way. And if you're a team that has struggled so far today, if you can make top 6 or if you can make placement points, then that's a good game. As long as it's better than game 1, you're good to go. As far as I think, in day number 1, you've got time, right? You still got time.
Yeah, and there's something simple about the saying of if you're better than your previous game, you're making improvements. It's very much similar to what you said, right? A team that finished with 0 points in the previous game, if they finish with 6, that's an improvement. Yeah, obviously I'm using points as a reference, but it's an indication, right?
Right.
So yeah, you're absolutely dead right. Phase 1, by the way, popped up. It does threaten Military Island. A little bit of uncertainty. It's not against the playing path that much, but yeah, it's going to question a lot of teams' positions early on in this game.
I feel really bad for 4RB. Once again, completely messed about by the zone. They're the farthest away from anybody, probably barring NEXUS, but at least NEXUS, it's on their side, right? 4RB have 2 teams in front of them. If they can kind of outmaneuver them, maybe a rotation, they could actually do some good work, move in quite quickly, quite easily, but 4RB going to have a heck of a time getting through any other way, in my opinion. It's going to be difficult for them. MABETEX, on the other hand, they're in the Millie base, and they're looking okay. Yeah, they are on the military island. That is fair. It's probably not going to go that direction, but at the same time, at least they're in zone, right? It's better than some of these teams that are not in zone. So,
Yeah, but I think for MABETEX, they need to move close to the Western Bridge as soon as possible. Otherwise, the likes of Team Spirit, who have proven they're rotating quicker in these games, are going to lock in that gatekeep, that bridge stop. So that toll pass, you could say. So for MABETEX, they need to get there before Team Spirit.
I agree. They do. ALPI also could be looking to do something to Team Spirit. I'm not sure what just yet, as they center on up. They group up together, looking for that early rotation, most likely. I do think they are going to go to that center position, probably those little compounds by the lighthouse, perhaps, something like that. That could be really good for them. You do see also MABETEX moving around, getting those vehicles, getting to the Western Bridge. So we'll see how that plays out for them. TNL, on the other hand, a massive split all across Quarry. For now, they can do it. They can get away with it. There's nobody there. Their closest neighbor is the Mind Weapon over in Gatka. So no real threat coming in on that side. But we see MABETEX trying their best, going to get across, not only near the Western Bridge, they're going to get over it. And so far, it's looking really open for them.
For a lot of these teams, there's also an understanding that even though Military Island is in play, and the likes of, Ferropier, Hillside, the coastline position are very valuable, there's still so many more areas of the circle to lock down. You mentioned the spread of the Nameless. It's a wide spread, but there's a lot of high ground that can be occupied there. You have Pachinki Hill as well. You have the hill to the south of Gaka. So you don't necessarily need to focus on the center of the circle.
Yeah.
And just understand, again, based off research, how other teams are going to rotate.
S2, they're going to be moving Again, center, just complete contradiction to what you said, right? You know, you don't have to go center. Everybody's going center. It seems S2 trying to weasel their way. It worked for them last time, but we'll see how that works out for them again. 4RB trying to make a clever long rotation, but looks like they just get bypassed by SHOCKWAVE there. Just enough not to get an elimination or any shots, but now they know they're there. They'll keep an eye out for each other. I find it interesting, Imperium, that Dagestan's still in school.
Hey, look, maybe they got detention and they're staying for some extracurriculum activity. But on a serious note, again, I think it's them understanding that a lot of other teams around them are not necessarily going to panic rotate, but they're going to be rotating well in front of them. So sticking to a little bit more of an edge of circle position will allow them to cover their backs a bit more, but again, not get into too much of a spot of bother early on. Plenty of time, plenty of movement. I'm happy with how they're moving.
Just watching STK, to be honest. They've got a super late rotation. Here they all are on your screens right now, coming past KASIK team. It's a good rotation. It's a solid one. It's calculated. We'll see how they go up against KASIK. They've heard them, so it's not going to be a surprise, but I don't think they mean it to be. They're going to be going straight past, moving around, trying to figure out what's what, where to go. Lithuania, on the other hand, they're still on that Millie Island area. They're still looking to know where to go. I'm not sure they know where to go, actually. They think that probably the Eastern Bridge is going to be busy. It's not. I'm here to tell you, it's really not. But what is busy is the Nameless. They're very busy. Up with Rush. Oh my goodness me. Gets the one. Gets the two. Is down a little bit, but he's got to heal up. That's good start against TNL.
TNL had a great position, but the spread was too much, and you got to recognize that even as early as phase 1. Great push by Rush team, starting to find our momentum as the next phase is about to pop up. It's going to go up north, somewhat central.
Ooh.
More importantly, sticking to the mainland. Very, very unlikely to end in Military Island.
Very. So unlikely. I could almost say it's impossible, to be honest. The zone just isn't gonna do it. I love ALPI's position, though, on that kind of open ground on that cliff sides there. Looking really good. It's a strong position to keep hold of later on into the later phases. They just have to be careful that no one tries to run them down and push too far. It should be all on them to control that if they can keep that control. So, I'm going to be definitely looking their way. Oh, but Imperium, Dagestan, taking shots.
Yeah, the mind weapon pushing in a bit riskily, but they find a more central position. You're going to be taking shots from multiple angles, not only decided Dagestan 77, but even Rush Team as well as S2 on top of that Pachinki Hill. Leo Esports, by the way, missed a perfect opportunity to move from Pachinki over into Pachinki Hill, and now they're going to be stuck against the likes of Shockwave, Dagestan 77, and S2.
Team Spirit holding out in a little compound. That's unusual for them. We usually see them spread out on open areas, but they're going to keep to the compounds for now. Might be a better option this early into the game, right? We still have 16 teams up alive. Yeah, sure, TNL is down to a solo, but he's still here. Still 60 players left, and they're going to be wanting to keep it careful. It's the last game of the day. They're looking good. Maybe they just want to finish on a high note. They don't have much to fight for anyway. They're looking pretty decent in those points. 4RB continue to not know where to go, though, Imperium. What do these guys have to do to actually get a decent game? Because they just seem so lost.
Just being mixed between wrong place, wrong time, maybe lack of strong IGLing in the moments that matter. Still have as a full squad, but again, maybe just not really as confident in how they're moving into these later circles. Lithuania, despite them losing a player, I think their rotation has been pretty good. NEXUS as well, understanding the situation. I love SPG's spread across Potato Hill in a 2-2 split. they should have an opportunity to gatekeep shoot to kill on that northeast edge of the circle.
Yeah, SBG's 1v13 split is really interesting. That could definitely make shoot to kill really, really nervous. We'll see how that goes for them. MABETEX also taking a similar position as ALPI onto that cliffside there. Spirit moving back. Kitsune scouting a little bit. It does center up right on them, though. Oh, this is going to be so interesting. Look, you got Lithuania, you've got ALPI, you've got Spirit, and you've got MABETEX, all pretty much in the exact same situation. This is going to be such an interesting game to move into.
Great response by KASIK to join back up instantly as a full squad on that compound. Giving up hill space, but again, keeping 4 players alive is much more valuable in this early part of Phase 3 in the shift that comes through. 4 Romanian boys going to have a difficult time. Leo Esports again failing to move out of Pachinki. They're going to have a difficult time. MSBG moving down into the hillside to the east of Pachinki.
Something I didn't think was really going to happen all that much was this massive group up of teams onto that northwestern side. It's an interesting side to really get focused in on, but you do have at least 6 teams all over on these hillsides, so it's going to be interesting to watch this. Dagestan, Limbo Boom, he's going to be looking at for RB as they try their hardest to stay inside zone, but SBG having a hard time.
Yeah, this is what I talked about in terms of gain and control against shoot to kill, finding an initial knock. Robs is under pressure as Aztec is going to return. Now with the DBS, SPG move out. The communication needs to be key. The trade is there. Discrim in the backline, Victor in the backline as well. 2 players down from each team. Revive is being pulled off by shoot. Sorry, should I say SPG. Well, Discrim is in the backline trying to use the smoke to find a position, but now shoot to kill go down and SPG come out on top. This is much better.
GG's, nicely done. Shoot to kill, though, this could have been everything for them. It could have been the game they were looking for to build that momentum into day 2, but it isn't going to be 0 elimination, 0 point game coming in for shoot to kill on this final game of day number 1. We'll see them tomorrow, see what they've got in plan, see what adjustments they've made to their strategy coming in here. Team Rush looking to threaten MABETEX as well onto this coastline. So MABETEX currently in a 3-1 split. We'll see how that goes, but we do see SHOCKWAVE getting taken down one by Leo. Purple is down, but Andre could have a great angle here.
Yeah, but let's be fair, Shockwave's still doing a better job overall, and in my opinion, Leo shouldn't give them an opportunity. I get that Shockwave really had nowhere that they could have turned to. Now it's up to Wagner to try and slow down the members of Leo Esports, possibly look for a revive, but I think he's going to go for the push just on the cusp of the blue. The next circle shifts up and it goes west.
Oof, away from ALPI. I feel bad. It was a good position. It was great even. But a beautiful nade. No way. Oh,
Beautiful.
My goodness. So good.
Beautiful.
GG's, Leo.
Yeah, not bad. I still don't agree with them hanging out in Pachinki, but to pick up 3 eliminations at least. Good. Gonna have to move out onto the northern edge of the circle. They do have a tiny shack that's outside of the city that is in the circle. Well, 4 Romanian boys on top of Pachinki Hill. S2 have been here for quite a while, and 4 Romanian boys yet to really find their cohesive mojo, but they do get the push onto S2. They find an elimination, they find a second, and although they have a player knocked, this is great control by 4 Romanian boys.
It really is, and over a ridge as well is not easy to do. You know, you're not on top of it, you're right below it. Really good stuff from them. S2 losing a little bit of that momentum coming in from that last win, but it's okay. You know what? They're still doing quite well. Heaven with those nades doing a good job. I think he has the most survival time in the team so far today. He's been the solo we've seen the most of today, but he has his teammate for now. See how he goes with it
SU
before
could
our
kinda wrap
nice
around.
push.
SU could wrap around the side of the hill, but they expose
Mm-hmm.
themselves to potential third parties that they don't necessarily know are there, but arguably they should kind of put two and two together. So realistically, they have to take this fight against four Romanian boys. Luckily for them, they're in the circle, so they can take their time. They can find an entry point and even the score to push back the Romanian side.
Absolutely can. Nice. Really good little bit of a wrap around there. As you said, Heaven, though, going the opposite direction, so avoiding those third-party pushes. But 4RB have this pretty locked down, Imperium. I'm not sure that they can actually do this, but Lawrence seems to be moving around, seems to be wanting to take this fight to another level here, going up and around the top. I could definitely see them trying to do that other split. Here we go. It's a 2-1 split. Gonna try and do exactly what I would love to see. Yes, here we go. 4RB doing their best. Great push coming in here, but they may have to take it all out. Wodu does go down in the end, though. Lawrence taken on down to low health, but not quite enough. Now SPG and Nexus go right head to head.
This is Nexus coming on top, and maybe they've absorbed the French mojo. Maybe they've eaten the croissants, and it's going to be Viva la Romania. Of course, Romania actually does have a strong connection with France on his side. Now, I believe there is connection in that sense. But either way, Nexus putting the pressure onto the members of SPG. It's in the flatlands on the northeastern edge of the circle, so potential third parties in play, as Snowix is further back. Another elimination, up to 4 for Nexus, and this is Lithuania, like I said, potentially third partying them.
I don't like this from SPG at all. I think they should have gone straight for those hillsides. There's plenty to spare, right? Spirit are in the compound below. Nexus aren't really anywhere near. And you got KASIK kind of there, but not on top, right? I think SPG missed a huge opportunity to just circumvent all of this rubbish in the flatlands. And they've ended up losing out for it.
But again, I think that's just kind of part of what has been slow and sluggish rotations when it really matters. Whereas in the qualifying stage, they might be slow initially, but they know when to flick that switch and turn up the heat. We haven't seen that flick of the switch in most of these games today from the members of SPG. They're still in the running, of course. Team Spirit, full squad. 4 eliminations, 4 Romanian boys, 5 eliminations, 3-man squad. MABETEX still in this game also as a full squad, but as the circle shifts up north and phase 5, they have a big fight to make it into the southern edge.
I mean, yeah, where do you go if you're MABETEX, right? If you go to the left, you've got Dagestan. If you go ahead, you've got Spirit. If you go to the right, you've got Spirit, KASIK, and Lithuania, and Nexus all there. So it's going to be really tough for MABETEX to actually get inside that zone. There you go. Effect already starting to do that work as they go straight past and charging through to this right-hand side. They've gone to potentially the worst possible spot in zone just because it's straight through on the left-hand side, right-hand side.
At least one player survives from MABETEX, but yeah, it was always going to be difficult. I would have recommended maybe going for a crash, to be honest, onto Spirit, but I understand why they didn't. Again, we didn't exactly see what they were seeing. We were only kind of somewhat going by the map feed. But Lithuania, not being deterred by the vehicle movement from Haisu, focused very, very heavily onto the members in Nexus, while SPG are still in this game as a duo, so can still punish Nexus should they get close to them.
4RB have a great position here to do some real damage. They need to move up very quickly, though. Mind Weapon still here, still in it to win it. Mind Weapon with 3 left alive in the top 10. That's a good result. It's more than we've seen from them so far today, but Dagestan going straight through them, up and above to 4RB. Now 4RB here, 6 eliminations on the board so far. This could be their best game yet tonight, and they're looking to do more damage over onto Dagestan.
Dagestan, though, are kind of on the lower side of the hill, so it's actually hard for Romanian boys to push down, because if they do, their bodies are exposed against the likes of SPG and even Leo to an extent, if not even the Mind Weapon. So I understand why the 4 Romanian boys won't push onto the members of Dagestan. As the circle shifts over to the northwest, they don't have to move a muscle. They can wait out. They can take advantage, as the teams are going to have to move in around them.
Team Spirit seem to have been able to move in without any trouble, to be honest. KASIK, their last man standing here. It is Coopin, and he's Coopin. He's roosting in the Coopin. That is for sure. If the DBS comes on through and takes him out, Team Spirit being the foxes in the hen house here, coming in there. GG's, nicely done. NEXUS. Wait. No, I thought that was the other way around.
Yeah.
MABETEX, Haisu.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Haisu, more like a Haistu, as he gets a Haisu, takes down the members of NEXUS, and that is going to be another elimination point, another potential placement for the members of MABETEX. 8 eliminations for SPG. We questioned their decision making, but let's be fair, it's been a stronger game for the French side. Still 2 players left alive. They're going to have a tough time against the likes of Dagestan 77 and Team Spirit, should those 2 teams remain as a full squad.
I think it's all eyes on Dagestan at the moment, as far as the rest of the lobby is concerned. But here comes Spirit over the hillsides, over onto Lithuania. Rokas at that front line. He's got to do something quick. Direct your team, my man, because you're all getting gunned down. Team Spirit taking a page out of SBG's book. They're taking all that frustration and just throwing it at Lithuania with those vehicle eliminations.
Gun down, run down. Team Spirit have the spirit, have the fight, have the control, and up to double eliminations. Can they end day 1 of the finals with a chicken dinner finally? Arguably, they don't need to, with their consistency, with their points even in this game so far. It's going to be standard rinse and repeat performance from them, but I know they'd be happy, they'd be relieved. Their mindset would be in a much better place if they were to close out this game, this final game of the day, with a juicy chicken dinner. They're pushing on to the members of SPG. Dagestan 77 is across the road, along with the members of 4 Romanian boys. Victor inside the smoke gets a knock, but it's gonna be Team Spirit coming out on top. The question is, can they get the revive? I don't think they can. No, yes they can.
Ooh, just about, though. 4RB looking, they're doing their best, right, to look over there, trying to get those angles, but it's just not gonna work. Not this time. Team Spirit have a good spot, but the zone is not on their side. They've got to make the most of this position before they most likely have to move, because Dagestan are not going to be very friendly. Neither are the Mind Weapon. We see them here, 3 up, top 4. This is the kind of thing we were talking about. End on a good game.
But they do need to pick up as many eliminations as possible. Let's be fair. It drops from 10 points for a chicken dinner to 6 for second. That's a 4-point difference. You got to make that up with eliminations. They have the circle control against Team Spirit. Team Spirit have nowhere really to go at this stage of the game. They could finally have hit the brick wall. A possible crash across the road onto 4 Romanian boys could be a possibility. Maybe even a crash onto the members of Mind Weapon, but maybe because they've left it too late, they might not be able to find it. I think the Mind Weapon would be the best option for the members of Team Spirit, because both Dagestan and 4 Romanian boys can't really third party.
Oh, they look to be trying to go for the other side, that top side,
That's
and I
risky.
really don't agree with that. It is. There's so much open ground, right? Their only shot right now is to kind of do that cover fire thing, but even then, I don't think that will work. So we're gonna have to watch and see how that goes. But for the most part, it is a bit of a standoff here. Dagestan not doing anything.
The good thing for Team Spirit is they have a lot of utility to play with. Having gotten all the eliminations, they will have been able to loot a lot of their opponents, right? So you can see 5 smokes from Naomi alone. You see 2 and 3 from the other players. That gives them a bit of an opening. Great pre-smoke allows them to push on forward. And they're going to go for the members of Dagestan. But Naomi going in on his own isn't really the right call. Sorry, it wasn't Naomi, it was Kitsune. And then Naomi got taken out. And that's going to be Team Spirit taken out. I appreciate the effort, but like we talked about, probably wasn't really the best direction to go for. And they get swarmed by both the Mind Weapon and 4 Romanian boys, as well as Dagestan 77. 3 teams left Neptura.
I'm confused. I thought they were going for 4RB. That was risky, but could have been doable.
Yeah, I know.
To go for Dagestan just puts you in the sights of all 3
In the
teams
center.
there. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, all right, sure. You know what? I kind of like it this way though, because they'll still be on top with 0 wins, which is really fun to me. That's such a cool little fact to end day 1 on.
Dagestan 77 coming into this game 5th overall in the standings with 40 points. 4 Romanian boys coming into this game 12th in the overall standings with 13 points. And the Mind Weapon coming into this game in last place on just 1 point. I know Temp will be very happy for his team if they are to get a chicken dinner in the final game of the day. I alluded to it. You reminded us ending on a strong note is always positive. But arguably they've done enough to end on a stronger note than they have so far.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, if you're talking about a change in mentality coming into day 2, absolutely this has been enough. As Rogo does go down, this might be the end, but only because the zone has not been their friend in this game. 4RB have control over that high ground, and now Dagestan could be the next to go out here. If Mind Weapon can just hold out a little longer is all they need.
I wouldn't go for the revive if I was Mind Weapon. I'd look to try and third party and take advantages. Vama 69 moves in, gonna pick up Temp, and they might look to go for the push. Could they have left it too late? As Limbo is now the last player standing for Dagestan 77. Rogu's confirmed by the members of 4 Romanian boys. 8 eliminations, still 3 teams left alive. Temp of Vama 69 huddled in the corner. Lindo Boom goes down, and now we are left with just 2 teams. 4 Romanian boys down in the bottom half of the standings coming into this game. A chicken dinner firmly in their sights. They've played this game perfectly coming up to Pachinki Hill. You asked, what are they going to be able to do to get a good performance, right? They've been a little bit unlucky, but you create your own luck. They have made their luck. They've carved out this chicken dinner should they finish the job. It's easier said than done. It's 2v3. And Nate goes out. Countered by Temp. Robbie takes a ton of damage. The third person perspective benefiting Temp for the time being. All it takes is 1 knock. The members of 4 Romanian boys are huddled together, where it could be 2 for the price of 1. The center of the circle is on neither of these teams. The bush is in play. Vama 69 on the top side. Takes a chunk of damage onto the members of 4 Romanian boys, but you got to split pay this. Temp, Vama, you got to communicate. Like a shepherd herding the sheep into the gates of destruction. The Mind Weapon need to herd the members of 4 Romanian boys into the corner of the blue zone. Allow the damage to come out, but in return the nades are going to spitfire their way through. Vama 69 on a sliver of health. Temp low down. Again, communication, cohesiveness, but that's it. Lawrence finds Vama. Temp is the last player standing. I don't think they have a full idea of where it is, but in a 1v3 it's going to be a hell of a fight for him to get the job done. Maybe snakes through, tries to find the shots, but it isn't going to be it. And 4 Romanian boys, Bini Ba, chicken dinner.
Nice. GG's, well done. Excellent work coming in there from both teams, right? 4RB and the Mind Weapon, both these teams needed a huge boost, and they got it. A 1-2 is not bad at all. 4RB gonna go into tomorrow feeling really fresh, feeling really good about today, feeling just good. You know, slow start, yeah, that's fine, but ending on that high note of a massive win coming in there, looking really good for them tomorrow.
To quote Muse, it's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, and I'm feeling good. It may be last game of the day, but what a way for 4 Romanian boys to turn it up. Like I said, played this game perfectly, created their look, created their control. That Pachinki heel was perfect. That's why Leo should have gone there earlier on. But either way, we get into the match rankings, and 21 juicy points for the 4 Romanian boys.
Oh, just look at it. Look at all those points just stacking on up. 4RB, I think were what are they, 10th, 11th, something like that. So in the realm of
12th. Yeah, they were 12th.
12th, okay. Still in the realm of really close points, right? You're getting into those 20-something points. So they've nearly doubled their current standings. Is going to be such a good boost. Yeah, right. So looking very good. Really good for them. You have to think about the Mind Weapon as well. They're gonna go out on such a high here. Yes, could certain things have been done slightly differently? Maybe, but that's not the point, right? When you have a team that has not done well today, to come in with a second place as a 3-man squad is such a good feeling, and I hope that gives them the mental turnaround they need for tomorrow.
Even SBG, right? We've been critical and somewhat justifiably when they were coming into this as a blueprint team. And don't get me wrong, certain teams are going to have different standards that they're going to not only expect from themselves, but we're going to expect from them. And I think SBG can also be put in the same light as an improving game to end the day.
Yeah, no, I agree. There are certain things, again, that I would have done differently, but SBG looking good, back in second place. They're feeling okay about this, you know. They're top of the rest of everybody else because there's no topping team spirit coming into that overall. 0 wins, 87 points in 0 wins in 6 matches. And the second place is 58. That is a huge gap.
29 points to end day one. That's the kind of cushion that you kind of want to see. That's perfect for team spirit, again, without a chicken dinner, but they still the highest amount of placement points on board. Nexus Gaming, I think, surprising us in a really positive way, finishing in 4th place, as well as Dagestan 77. Credit where it's due on their part, getting a chicken dinner as well.
Absolutely. I am slightly surprised we didn't see 4RB in 8th place there, you know, topping that, or topping the bottom of this page, right? But they are there. They are in 9th, 34 points. That's still
just 1 point behind.
A bad score. Yeah, 1 point behind. That's nothing. They can get that tomorrow. It's all good there. And the Mind Weapon, of course, going up to 15th after all that. GG's nicely done as well. So looking good.
But it's also the fact that they're now only, let's say, 6 points behind 12th. They're only 13 points behind 11th. Again, it just boosts them up there from a point standpoint. And yeah, I have to say it's a lot closer than I expected. Some teams are performing a lot better than I expected. However, there's still 2 days to go. There's still 12 games left to play.
Yeah, 12 games and anything can happen. I mean, if you think about it, we've only had 6, right? And so much has happened. We have had so many ups and downs across the board, right? Across that leaderboard. Different teams doing different things at different times, all in just 6 games. So to have 12 more of that, I mean, really anything is possible.
What is possible is following us on all of the social medias, right? PUBG Mobile, your YouTube page, Instagram, TikTok. Join the conversation. Use the hashtag. I don't know what the hashtag is, not gonna lie. Feels bad, man. But use the hashtag, you should know. I think it's PMSL EMEA Qualifier is your, as far as I know.
Yeah, I think that
something
sounds
like
right.
that. It's a very long hashtag. Indeed, follow us on all the socials and join in on the conversation and let us know what you thought of day one of the finals and who you guys think are going to be the top 2 teams making it into the PMSL EMEA. Neptura, what was your highlight of tonight's games?
Highlight. Highlight. One of Spirit's plays, I have to say, I can't remember which one, just because they were all good. I don't know. Okay. They were all so good. Because they were so consistent, it almost kind of blended together a little bit, right? Just because they were so consistently good. It's like, yeah, okay, they were good. Probably Kitsune doing the 1v2 in the first game.
Yes.
That's gotta be a highlight moment, right?
A hell of a moment. What a way to start the finals, and it continued on from there. Still 12 more games to go in the finals. Lots more opportunities for these teams to climb their way back up in the standings. Just like me, they're going to need to find their voice. They're going to need to find their confidence. They're going to need to find their aggression if they're going to have any chance in qualifying for the PUBG Mobile Super League EMEA. Join us tomorrow, same time, same place, and have a good evening.